In an era where the boundary between life and death is torn apart by monster claws awakened, warriors are humanity's new gods, while in the slums, Trando is just a grain of sand at the bottom of society. A dirt-poor student struggling even for his next meal, he was also plagued by misfortune. His weakness made him a punching bag for a gang of bullying thugs at school. After a brutal blow to the head from those who called themselves friends, Trando collapsed and fell into a deep coma for 2 years. The outside world had long forgotten the existence of a nobody. But no one knew that behind those tightly closed eyes and that body, Trando's soul had been thrown into an Asura realm, a battlefield of training bloody and terrifyingly real. In that hell there was no room for weakness. To survive, he had to frantically swing his blade, slaughtering endless waves of the most savage monsters, forging his will and absorbing every kind of forbidden power. 2 years on a hospital bed, 10,000 battles in his mind, and then the heartbeat on the monitor suddenly spiked. Trando slowly opened his eyes, no longer holding the fearful gaze of the pathetic poor student from before. Deep in those calm eyes lay the towering, killing intent of someone who had crawled up from a mountain of blades and a sea of blood. The day Trando woke up was the moment the gears of fate began to turn. The path of rise for a supreme powerhouse had officially begun. Attention! Attention! District 7 of Luong City is under attack. Residents, please find shelter in an orderly manner. Despite the call, streaks of deadly energy rained down like meteor showers, followed by the repeating announcement, "Attention, attention, District 7 of Luong City is under attack. Residents, please find shelter in an orderly manner." Amidst the chaos, a blue energy meteorite streaked down and struck a young man. It caused him to vomit blood. The scene quickly cut to Luong City High School No. 1, where thousands of students were gathering for announcements. Students, as you know, only by getting into the Red Branch class will you have any hope of becoming elite warriors in the future, the teacher in charge droned on. This class placement exam follows the university entrance exam format divided into academic and martial arts evaluations. The total score is 750, with academics accounting for 225 points and martial arts for 525. I hope everyone gives it their all. To add some drama, the teacher held up 2 fingers and delivered the final ruthless blow. Only the top 10 most outstanding students will be allowed to step into the Red Branch class. We will begin the academic exam immediately. Please enter the testing room in an orderly line. Our protagonist, Trando, walked and muttered to himself, looking at his hands. A chance to become a warrior. Remembering his arduous past, he continued to ponder. I fell into a sudden coma back in 10th grade. My parents were so worried they got me sick leave for 2 whole years. This might be my last chance to become a warrior. I must seize it. Burning with determination, Trando confidently headed toward the school stairwell, but life is not a dream. As soon as he arrived, he met the gang of bullies who loved to mock him, blocking his path with a sneer. Well, well. Isn't this Trando? You're actually dragging your face here to take the exam. Look at that, I told you so. Anyone can try their luck at the Red Branch class, huh? A long-haired crony chimed in. Trando has been out of school for 2 whole years. How does he have the nerve to show up? Hearing this, Trando remained indifferent, as if he heard nothing. The ringleader put on a dangerous act, pointing straight at him with contempt. Kids these days are really bold, aren't they? Sick for 2 years, and you dare to come straight to the Red Branch entrance exam. Don't think you're some kind of genius. Not letting him be smug for long, Trando grabbed the finger that was pointing at him. He snapped it back and coldly replied, "Thanks for the concern. You should worry about how you're going to pass the upcoming test." Leaving the school thugs behind, Trando walked away calmly like a god. The ringleader held his hand, watching him go with bitterness, muttering, "This brat was clearly a pushover in freshman year. How is he so arrogant now? Maybe after the exam I need to... Wait, that kid's grip strength is way too high." Arriving at the computer exam room, another tall, sturdy guy approached and patted the ringleader on the shoulder, advising him, "Hung, are you brainless? If you make a move now and get caught, you'll be disqualified immediately. It's best to wait until the martial arts test to settle this." Hearing that, the ringleader gave a sinister, murderous smile. "That's right. If I accidentally cripple him during the exam, then no one could say a word." While the others were busy scheming, Trando had already sat at a computer looking at the first question with boredom. Hung, briefly describe the current world setting and the Genesis day of the martial arts calendar. It all starts with basic general knowledge like this, so he leisurely typed the answer about the tragic history. In the year 2842 of the Old Era, an alien civilization discovered and invaded Earth. Humanity responded with nuclear weapons. Along with a picture of a giant extraterrestrial enemy crushing the Earth was the caption 2 years after the failed total nuclear war. And the death toll exceeded 5 billion. The answer continued with the rise of humanity. Under the conditions of global nuclear radiation, humans broke through their physical limits and began to evolve. On August 27, 2860 Old Era, the life intensity of all adults reached level 2. To illustrate that evolution, the exam displayed an image of a super warrior's rippling muscular back, followed by scenes of human warriors throwing kicks and punches, unleashing power. Extraordinary on the battlefield, a wave of the hand tearing through the wind from a white-haired warrior proved that human power now had no limits. The last line for question 1 closed with the shadows of heroes standing on the corpses of monsters. That day marked the end of the Old Era and opened the new era known as the Genesis Day of the martial arts calendar. The system immediately threw out a series of multiple-choice questions. Question 2. Important figures who made great contributions during the Genesis War included Question 3. What mistaken policies did countries propose to restore world order? Question 4. Not taking much time, Trando calmly moved the mouse, clicked the submit button, and a wave of blue energy surged through his body. He smiled smugly. As expected, a perfect score. After all, I wasn't really in a coma for the past 2 years. But after a mysterious injury, I had been constantly entering a strange space. You stretch your arms out comfortably, relaxing. The rewards from that space have awakened your mental power and given you a photographic memory, so even after taking 2 years off school, you're confident enough to register for the exam. It's a shame you only scored 225 on the academic test. You'll really need to go home and prepare thoroughly for the martial arts portion. Pushing the door open, you walk in and cheerfully call out, "Dad, I'm home!" Your father is just coming out from the kitchen carrying a bag of food saying, "Perfect timing, let's get ready for dinner." The scene cuts to Chen Duo accidentally dropping his exam admission card. An elderly woman picks it up and grumbles, "This clumsy kid. Watch yourself, don't go losing your admission card." As the scene shifts to a warm dinner, your parents and younger sister are already sitting at the table waiting for the eldest son. Holding a strange bottle of medicine, you ask in surprise, "Look at this. Is this energy powder, Dad? Where did you get this?" Your father sets the food down and smiles proudly. "Well, aren't you about to test for the Hongqi class? I bought some energy powder to help you boost your score." Touched by his kindness, you say in a low voice, "Dad, actually, I could have passed without using something this expensive." Patting your shoulder, your father consoles you. "Don't overthink it. Even though I couldn't become a martial artist, our family can easily afford to raise a few martial artists like you and your sister. If you need to eat, eat. If you need to drink, drink. We'll always find a way to make money." You smile faintly, your eyes shining with determination and pride for your small family. At night, you sit in meditation on your bed, calculating a single bottle of energy powder costs 20,000. Buying this? You must have drained all of the family's savings. In this society, if I don't become a martial artist, I can't even protect my own loved ones. Green energy flares brilliantly in your palm as you mutter to yourself, "Will tomorrow's exam go smoothly? It all depends on tonight." With a blink, you enter that cold, familiar crystal space again, clutching your sword as monsters lurk behind you. You remember ever since that coma. Every time I fall asleep, I enter this crystal space. Your thoughts continue. There are so many monsters in this space. Their goal is to destroy the crystal, and I have to fight them to protect it. You've learned the hard way, if the crystal is destroyed, you'll stay comatose for the entire next day. But if I die in this space, while fighting to protect it, I wake up quickly and feel energized for the whole day. As you swing your sword and slice through a huge monster, you explain to yourself, "At first I was terrified of risking my life, so I kept falling into comas. Only later, when I figured out the rule, the more I die, the stronger I get, did things start to improve. The benefit is, every time I successfully defend against a wave of monsters, my mental power increases a bit, helping my memory and comprehension reach an unbelievable superhuman level. Thanks to that, even though I was suspended for 2 years, I'm still confident about the exam." The system continuously displays green notifications, signaling that the next wave of monsters will arrive in 30 seconds. You click your tongue, thinking the only downside is, this space only counts the very first time you successfully protect the crystal, without missing a beat. Chengdu continues to fight, swinging his sword and landing lethal blows. An ugly monster is unfortunately slashed in two, falling into a bloody puddle, defeated, covered in sweat. But you lean on your hands, panting, and command, "Open control panel." A green stat window appears before you. You analyze it, disappointed. My current stats might not be enough to get into the Hongqi class and become an elite martial artist in the future. Name Chen Duo. Vitality 5.1. Mental power 5. Lifting strength 1,100 pounds. Speed 20 meters per second. Martial arts flowing light sword rank 189%. Fourth wave of defense not complete. The system immediately flashes a warning. Fifth wave of monsters arriving. Player, please prepare. Your expression instantly goes tense. A giant dragon flies in from out of nowhere and breathes fire. Whoosh! Chengdu quickly retreats and shouts, "It's here!" With incredible agility, you jam your sword into the ground, sliding to keep your distance. The ferocious dragon immediately strikes with its claws right where you were just standing. It misses. The dragon follows up with a deadly tail whip. Thanks to your amazing reflexes, you leap high into the air, dodging the massive tail as it slams into the cliffside. While flipping in the air, you smile triumphantly. After dying and coming back to life so many times, I've finally mastered the rhythm and attack patterns of this giant lizard. Driving your glowing sword straight into the dragon's chest, you unleash your signature move. Flowing light sword art, clear breeze, falling forest. Stung by a painful strike, the dragon is filled with murderous intent, making you gasp, "Has it gone crazy?" The powerful counterattack sends you flying back. You grab your left arm and retreat, taking a defensive stance while watching the dragon roar defiantly amidst a sea of fire. You mutter, sweating profusely. I was too careless. Lucky I wasn't seriously hurt. The giant dragon opened its fiery maw, lunging forward with a crushing blow, but Trando managed to block the lethal attack with his sword, though he was sent skidding back a long distance. He gritted his teeth, telling himself, "Stay calm. This time I'm definitely going to win." Seeing this, the beast whipped its spike-covered tail in a fatal strike, but he nimbly leaped into the air to dodge it. Not giving him a moment to breathe, the dragon opened its jaws lined with razor-sharp fangs, lunging upward to swallow its prey whole. Trando reacted with lightning reflexes, spinning mid-air, and using the momentum to thrust his sword forward with a powerful dash. Leaving a dazzling trail of light behind him, he clenched his jaw, his eyes blazing with killing intent as he poured all his strength into the finishing blow. Even as the dragon spewed scorching flames, burning across the corner of the sky, he still weaved through the attacks and smirked. Being small has its advantages, doesn't it? Immediately after, he leaped high and dove headfirst like a comet, aiming his sword straight at the monster's weak point, dealing a blow that pierced to its very core. The giant flying lizard threw its head back and let out a harrowing shriek amidst the sea of flames. Trando landed safely in an incredibly cool pose, his hand gripping the sword that had just sliced right through his opponent. A glowing, cross-shaped wave of sword energy erupted, tearing through the dragon's tough scales. The massive beast crashed to the ground, sending countless shards of rock flying everywhere. But it wasn't over yet. Trando continuously delivered heavy slashes to ensure the enemy had no chance of recovering. Finally, he stood tall beside the dragon's carcass as the system chimed. Congratulations, host, for successfully defending against 5 waves of monsters. Mental power level increased by 1. The blue screen continued to blink, signaling completion. Wave cleared. Rewarded with the Void Immortal Visualization technique. He stroked his chin, analyzing, an increase in mental power is expected, but this visualization technique. I remember the school explained that this is a rare technique that allows for active cultivation of mental power, even though I can boost my stats through system rewards. But you can never have enough of good things like this. Before he could even finish celebrating, the system buzzed urgently. Host, please prepare. The next wave of monsters is approaching. He sighed softly and looked back. Trando's eyes widened, his pupils constricting as he witnessed an unbelievable sight before him. In the endless darkness, giant phantom shadows with glowing red eyes were looming closer, creating a suffocating pressure. The scene abruptly cut to reality as Trando jolted up on his bed, sweating profusely, and muttered, "Their vitality is a whole level higher than mine, and there are 30 of them. It seems I won't be passing this stage anytime soon." Exhaling sharply, he pulled the blue light book from the system and decided, forget it. Let's check out this visualization method first. As soon as he focused, his consciousness was pulled into a fantastical, shimmering space filled with fragments glittering like the night sky. There, A giant, dark entity with a sinister grin and dozens of blood-red eyes was looking down at him like he was a mere grain of sand. Facing that terrifying pressure, Trando had a realization. So that's how it is. No wonder it's called a visualization technique. I just need to stare at this giant. He will put me through a trial. So he calmly sat cross-legged on his bed, radiating a deep blue aura as he immersed himself in the cultivation process. Right at that moment, the door creaked open, and his younger sister poked her head in, calling, "Big brother, it's time for dinner." Just as Trando took off his sweat-drenched shirt, revealing rippling muscles, his sister's eyes went wide with surprise. "Huh? Big brother, why do you suddenly look so handsome?" The brother smiled confidently. His broad shoulders and the sharp features on his face were proof of his non-stop cultivation efforts. He reached out to ruffle his sister's hair and teased. "Was your brother not handsome before?" She frowned and resisted. "Handsome, handsome, but stop it, you're messing up my hair." After her brother left, his sister stood shyly by the door, her cheeks blushing, muttering, "Huh, big brother wasn't this handsome before, was he?" Standing in front of the mirror to fix his clothes. Trando stroked his chin and remarked, I seem a bit different than before. Must be the effect of the void immortal visualization technique." After getting dressed, he called out, "Dad, sis, I'm heading to the exam." As he grabbed his backpack and walked out of the hallway, his father standing nearby waved and warned, "Travel safely, son." The golden, sunny scene of the Lung City High School Stadium appeared, the place where the fierce competition was about to take place. Standing on the field, warming up and stretching, Trando felt brimming with energy. The void immortal visualization technique is truly effective. I can clearly feel the improvement in every aspect of my body. Before he could enjoy it for long, a snarky voice rang out, "Oh, isn't this our genius student? Trando, who has been on academic leave for 2 years. The three familiar bullies surrounded him again with nasty words. "Before you dropped out, you were at the bottom of the rankings. And yet, after 2 years of absence, you still dare to show your face to participate in the Luangqi placement exam. Or are you some great philanthropist here to help us stay off the bottom of the leaderboard?" Without bothering to argue, Trando replied coldly, making their faces turn purple. "Still better than the type who can't even pass the cultural exam." The ringleader gritted his teeth and shouted, "What did you say?" He kept his smirk. He delivered a lethal blow. If your hearing is so bad that you can't hear clearly, how are you even going to take the exam? Provoked until the veins in his neck popped, the thug pointed straight at his face, threatening. "Trando, don't you dare push your luck," he replied casually and mockingly. "I didn't name anyone, so don't be so self-conscious and guilty." Just to be clear if that's not the truth. Seeing the situation getting tense, another student rushed in, waving his hands to break it up. "Easy, guys, easy. The exam is what matters. We don't need any trouble right now. If the teacher catches you, you'll have more to lose than gain." The bullies turned away looking annoyed, but they didn't forget to throw out a final threat. "Trando, just you wait. You're gonna get it soon enough." Trando's best friend grabbed him, panicked. "Bro, you are in serious trouble." But our protagonist just smiled calmly. "Don't worry, take it as it comes. It's not that big a deal." His friend, still in shock, quickly explained, "It's not just a simple matter of taking it as it comes. You don't get it, you've been suspended for 2 years, so you don't know. That kid Fongdu is so arrogant, because his uncle is literally the dean of education at our school." Wiping off sweat, his friend whispered, "Word is the dean already leaked the martial arts assessment exam questions to Fongdu." Trando narrowed his eyes, calculating. Looks like he'd have to watch out for Fongdu colluding with the teachers to trip him up. Just then, the digital board flashed a notification. The martial arts assessment will consist of a strength test and live combat. Students, please divide into groups of 10. Follow your candidate numbers to the designated areas. Strength test first. Seeing this, his friend tapped Trando on the shoulder, urging him, "The exam's starting? Let's go. Stop overthinking it and get in line." Trando muttered to himself, "He's so carefree, honestly." Entering the testing area, the screen displayed the strict rules. This exam uses a knockout system. Students, please strike the sandbag with your full strength. You will all hit at the same time, and whoever has the lowest score will be immediately eliminated. The students groaned loudly. "This strength test mechanism is just twisted." Trando stood before the force gauge, calmly calculating. "There's still the combat portion later. I need to save some of my energy." A flash of determination appeared in his eyes as he clenched his fist. "Fine. I'll just win with speed." On the other side, Fongdui threw a punch that cut through the wind wearing a triumphant smirk. Too easy. My power is beyond limits, as the command "First Group Begin" echoed out. The camera split between Trando and Fongdu, the atmosphere thick with tension. Suddenly, a punch with surging, overwhelming force slammed straight into the sandbag. The recoil from that punch was so powerful, it created a shockwave, sending a poor student flying backward onto the ground. Fongdu's lackeys down below started cheering. The boss is incredible. As expected of Fongdu, his power is terrifying. One guy stroked his chin, acting like an expert. I heard his punching force has already reached nearly 1,400 pounds. Exactly, another one chimed in, sucking up. Our boss is definitely top one. This round, someone is definitely getting eliminated right now. But the smirk on the lackey's face suddenly froze. His eyes widened in horror as he looked at the scoreboard. A ghostly, massive beast roared above the sandbag. It symbolized the overwhelming power just unleashed, leaving the entire arena stunned. A student stood there, jaw dropped, shouting, "What the hell? What kind of situation is this?" 1,500 pounds of force, and he only has a vitality level of 5.1. Which class is this Trando from? Is he really that much of a beast? Why wasn't he in the top 50 of the grade last year? Trando's best friend screamed with joy, jumping around. That's my brother. Holy crap, my boy is actually a monster. Since when? At the observation deck, the teacher in charge stroked his chin in astonishment. A vitality level of 5.1 usually only equates to 1,000 pounds of force. Yet he managed to output 1,500. The teacher frowned, analyzing. Even the students in the elite class can't do that. Could there be such a formidable student in the regular class? Could his martial arts skills be... He turned to his assistant. Bring me Trando's file. Scanning the documents, the teacher's eyes sharpened. A regular class student suspended for 2 years, yet his martial arts skills are at rank 155%. Maybe it's even higher than that now. Looking at Trando's sturdy back on the field, the teacher smiled expectantly. This afternoon I will definitely examine his true strength thoroughly. The afternoon sun beat down on the empty combat arena, painting it gold as the intense duels were about to begin. The teacher picked up the list and called out loudly, "Students whose names are called, please step onto the stage to begin the combat portion." 2 names full of history were called at the same time, splitting the gaze of the entire hall. Trando versus Fongdue. The audience below immediately began buzzing. Even though Trando just returned to school, his strength score is incredible. I wonder if he can actually win this fight. Immediately, someone curled their lip and retorted, how could he possibly win? Fongdue is confident that a real-life fight depends on martial arts skills. Having high raw power isn't enough to secure an edge in the ring. He points his sword directly ahead. He stares into his opponent's face and taunts, Trando, don't think that just because you got lucky in the last round you'll get the same chance this time. Trando just gives a cold smirk. He remains as calm as a still lake. I hope you can keep that arrogance up in a moment, pal. With a decisive step that rings out, he shows the true fire of the martial spirit, using martial arts to put an end to conflict. The fight explodes into action instantly. The two collide like hurricanes. Their weapons clash, sending blinding sparks tearing through the air. No time for pleasantries. Trando swings his blade down. A thunderous strike. The sword's edge is so sharp it feels like it's slicing the air itself. With just one move, he knocks his opponent back, the cold edge of his sword overwhelming Fongdu and sending him reeling. Blood spills from the corner of his mouth from the sheer force of the impact. Scrambling to his feet with his staff, Fongdu looks absolutely furious, roaring, Trando, don't you dare think you're getting into the elite red class! He pours all his strength into his staff, charging like a rabid animal, screaming his lungs out. I'm the one who's going to show off the power that matches my reputation, you bully. The collision erupts, lighting up the corner of the arena. A massive shockwave of energy ripples out under the watchful gaze of the teacher. Trando remains composed, unleashing a rapid-fire sword combo, swatting away every one of his opponent's attacks. Fongdui has completely lost his mind, his face twisted in rage as he brings his staff down in a vicious strike. Trando doesn't flinch. He calmly parries the blow, forcing that massive surge of power downward until it slams into the floor. After a few exchanges, Trando smirks, analyzing the fight. Fighting a real person is definitely different from those monsters in the crystal dimension. He starts to get a read on his opponent's rhythm. He focuses his energy, His entire body flares with a brilliant aura as he readies his counterattack. A single sword strike slices through the wind, cleaving right through Fong Du's fiery attack. With unstoppable power, Trando's eyes flash with a cold light. He pours every ounce of strength into his arm for the finishing blow. His sword closes in the blink of an eye. Fong Du's eyes widen in horror. He has no time to react to that terrifying speed. The overwhelming power of the swing sends him flying into the air. Like a kite with a snapped string, the school bully spits blood, while airborne his face contorted in agony as he crashes down. Even as he falls, his crooked hand sneakily releases a hidden throwing star, trying to pull a dirty trick to save some face, but such a pathetic move couldn't possibly get past Trando. He skillfully parries the hidden weapon and charges forward, delivering a massive, earth-shaking slap straight to his opponent's face. The sheer force of the blow deforms his face entirely. The arrogant Fong Du slams onto the arena floor with a thud, lying there in a miserable heap, sliding across the dirt. The students watching are left completely stunned with their mouths hanging open. His best friend jumps up in joy, shouting, "Wake up, people! The real dark horse is my buddy!" The rest of his lackeys are in total panic. What just happened? Did Trando actually win? Damn, he didn't use performance enhancers, did he? As the medical team rushes to carry the motionless Fong Du away on a stretcher, the teacher calmly announces, "Medical team, get him checked out. Students for the next match, get ready." Just as Trando turns to walk away looking cool, the teacher's voice calls out to him. "Trando, hold on a second." The teacher in charge walks over slowly with his hands behind his back, looking stern. Trando, showing great respect, bows slightly. "Teacher Lang, I was a bit hot-headed just now and didn't control my strength well. I'm sorry, sir." Teacher Lang gently pats his star pupil's shoulder. "Getting hurt in a real fight is normal. Just be more careful next time, that's all. You worked hard today. Remember to stretch when you get home." Trando nods obediently. "Thank you, sir." Watching his student leave, Teacher Lang is secretly amazed. Fong Du was beaten that badly. Yet he didn't even have a scratch on him. That must be due to his absolute dominance in martial arts. He commands someone, Vuong Tai, call the principal. The mechanical voice rings out obediently, "Command received." Leaving the arena, Trando strolls along the school corridor, thinking calmly, "Still early. Dad and my sister probably won't be back for a while." He walks toward a modern white machine called the Virtual Reality Combat Pod, watching the realistic 3D combat simulations. Even though I can't afford to hire a sparring partner, luckily the school gave every student one of these high-end devices. Trando feels a fire ignite. A craving for battle rises in his heart. Once I get in there, I can pair up with martial artists of the same level to keep sharpening my skills. As he walks, Trando ponders deeply. Since I've been so busy fighting monsters in the crystal dimension, I've never actually played virtual combat before. That's why my rank is still stuck at copper. He plugs in the power and starts the machine, carefully planning out his strategy. Since Fong Du lost so miserably, he'll definitely send people to cause trouble and stop me from entering the red class. He stands in front of the modern combat pod, staring at the soft red leather seat. Inside, the system interface pops up, showing that combat achievements in the VR pod are recorded on the Blue Star Youth ranking. It's a golden board, specifically established for university entrance exams, also known as the Genius List. It's the ranking for martial arts power recognized by every ecological zone globally. Even in the red class, nobody has made it onto this list yet. The pod lid lowers slowly, Trando confidently concludes. So as long as I reach a rank on the Blue Star Youth list, I'll definitely earn my spot in the red class on my own merit. In the blink of an eye, his consciousness is transmitted into a vibrant digital virtual space. He's wearing his familiar sports outfit with that ridiculous pink pig mask on his head. He types on the virtual screen in front of him. "Since getting the crystal dimension, I haven't used this VR pod once. Guess I'll just do a warm-up match to get started." His pig-head avatar appears awkwardly in the middle of the white void. Drawing his sword from the sheath, Trando looks around. Trando complained, wondering where his opponent had hidden, when suddenly a purple-haired girl descended from above with a lethal strike, mocking his slow reflexes. Relying on his sharp combat instincts, he managed to swing his sword just in time to block her blade right in front of his forehead, prompting her to smile and praise his decent reaction time. "But this isn't a school exam," she said. "You don't need to wait until you see your opponent to offer a greeting before you attack." The pig-headed guy immediately stepped back into a defensive stance. Burning with spirit, he retorted, "I've learned my lesson, but you won't get another chance to sneak attack me." With that, both lunged at each other, trading relentless wind-tearing sword strikes in midair. Gathering his strength, Trando struck straight forward like a drill, a dragon point pierce. Having blocked the attack, the purple-haired girl was surprised, asking, "Was that the dragon point pierce you just used?" "No, that move is clearly a thrust, yet you used it like a slashing technique," she noted while parrying. She continued to instruct him on applying the 4 forms of the streamer sword technique. Don't be constrained by a specific form. Try to think more about the essence of martial arts. Hearing this epiphany, Trando patted his pig head, suddenly enlightened. Right. Why should sword moves be limited by their form? Knocked backward, he couldn't help but wonder, but how did she recognize my sword technique? Seeing him distracted, the girl immediately lunged, warning him not to lose focus. Blocking her strike, Trando broke into a sweat, thinking, "She's so strong I can't even tell what base martial art she learned." The expert leaped over his head with incredible speed. Completely bewildered, he wondered, who on earth is she? Delivering a fatal blow from behind, the girl coldly finished him off. "You were too careless." Ambushed, Trando could only cry out internally, "Damn it, you camper always playing dirty." As the defeat screen appeared, he hovered in midair, complaining that he could have won with pure strength if she hadn't insisted on sneak attacks. He returned to the lobby, stroking his chin while pondering her earlier advice. Think more about the essence of martial arts, huh? Images of the techniques flashed in his mind as he analyzed the streamer sword technique. It had 4 moves, and he hadn't yet mastered the dragon point pierce. A light bulb went off for the pink pig. It's a straight thrust move, its attributes similar to an assassin style. Wait, assassins are good at sneak attacks. But my fighting style is too direct. Thinking is doing. He pressed the confirm key, determined to use real combat to test if his line of thinking was correct. Entering a new match, he was immediately greeted by a massive muscular giant carrying a weight. A huge chain, seriously. Trando wept, internally sweating bullets. Just met an assassin type, and now I run into a counterweapon user. This matchmaking mechanism is godly. What the hell is this? The giant swung his arm, dragging the weight. A wave of energy swept toward the young man. Despite being forced into a defensive position, Trando confidently assessed, "Regardless, my martial arts skills are superior to his." The advantage remained his, as the opponent unleashed a restraint move, ground-drawing prison, surrounding the area with earth before following up with a deafening bell-like strike. Golden Bell Shock! The guy yanked the chain, laughing aggressively at the young man. "A sword isn't used like that. Don't think your martial arts are better than mine. I can do whatever I want with it." The pitch-black giant weight descended like a meteorite toward the pig-faced boy with terrifying, destructive power. In that split second, the pink pig's eyes looked up calmly. "Is that so?" He immediately channeled his energy, unleashing his ultimate move, Breeze Descending. The iron weight was deflected by his sword aura, creating a shockwave that rattled the space. Not missing the chance, Trando appeared like a ghost right on his opponent's shoulder. Holding his sword to the giant's neck, he left him stunned. "What, weren't you just in front of me?" In one swift motion, he coldly dealt the finishing blow, Dragon Point Pierce. The system screen hailed his victory. Gao Bear defeated Wang Dai, victory points +10. Trando stood tall, smiling with pride. That was the first time I pulled that off successfully. The pig-headed guy pondered, rubbing his chin, wondering why the sword was considered the most sophisticated weapon. The system immediately displayed an illustration of a stick figure. Sophistication doesn't mean mere dexterity, but unpredictable transformation. It can be hard or soft, hidden or clearly visible. The image continued to simulate sharp sword paths. The sword can tear the wind with the power of lightning or flow gracefully like a small stream. Watching the 2 stick figures battle, Trando realized the final move of the streamer sword technique. This Dragon Point Pierce must have been created to help me realize a principle. He smiled triumphantly under his pink pig mask, that a sword can be used openly and honorably. But it can also be used for moves in the shadows. The sword is a weapon without limits. Suddenly, a flurry of system notifications exploded. Congratulations to the host. The streamer sword technique has leveled up from grade 189% to 90%. Tasting the sweet success, he cheered with enthusiasm. Real combat really does help you understand things more deeply. Let's keep fighting again. And so notifications of leveling up flashed endlessly. After an unknown amount of time, the machine hatch opened, and Trando lay sprawled inside. Breathing out a puff of smoke, he wearily complained, "So hungry." Suddenly his watch beeped, signaling, "Congratulations, Master, you have officially entered the top 10,000 of the ranking." The Blue Star youth was stunned, his face blank with shock as he blurted out, "What, the top 10,000 of the Blue Star youth ranking?" Without hesitation, he immediately ordered, "Open the full details of my Blue Star youth ranking." The system complied, displaying the dazzling results. Blue Star ranking 6,219, Ecozone 7 654, Fierce Bear Region 55, Tuvan District 7. Luong City, rank 1. Pulling up his jacket zipper, Trando beamed with joy. Who would have thought that after mastering the Dragon Point Pierce this time, I'd actually be sitting pretty at the top? Ranking number 1 among the youth of Luong City, a spot in the Hongqi class is all but guaranteed. The scene shifts to the lush green campus of High School Number 1. It's a fresh morning in Luong City. The path to the school is still quiet and empty, awaiting the day's events. Trando walks in with his backpack on. As he strolls along casually, a sharp voice rings out from behind him. Trando turns back to see a pot-bellied uncle with rolled-up sleeves pointing right at his face and barking. "Don't you know how to greet a teacher when you see one? Did you leave your manners at home?" It turns out to be Fong Lap Quok, the Dean of Education, who is also the uncle of Fong Du, the guy Trando recently crushed. Trando lazily turns back and gives a flat, short reply, "Hello, sir." Meanwhile, students passing by start whispering, "Who's that? Look at that armband." The old dean puffs out his potbelly, acting all high and mighty. "This new semester? As the dean, I'll be personally inspecting uniforms and conduct. What on earth are you wearing?" Trando replies calmly, "It's the school uniform, sir." His deadpan response makes the nearby students burst into laughter, ha ha ha, but the laughter dies instantly. When the dean snaps around and roars, "Quiet!" the students recoil in fear, whispering to each other, "Trando is done for." Fong Du still hasn't been discharged from the hospital, so his uncle is definitely here for revenge. I heard Trando only won because he used banned performance enhancers. Serves him right, doesn't it? And here I thought he was actually that powerful. Yeah, right. Ignoring the chatter, the dean taps his bamboo rod sharply against Trando, nitpicking unreasonably. This part, and even this part, none of it is up to regulation. Trando remains as calm as ever. Without changing his expression, he asks, "Everything I'm wearing complies with the school rules. I don't see which part of the regulation I'm failing to meet, sir." Fuming because he's being talked back to, the dean's face turns beet red. He raises the bamboo rod high and shouts, "How dare you argue with me?" Before the blow can land, Trando catches it firmly as if it were a joke. The dean goes even crazier, screaming, "How dare you resist discipline and talk back to a teacher? I'm reporting you to the principal to get you expelled." Just as the tension reaches a breaking point, a steady voice echoes from behind, "Who is looking for me?" It turns out to be Lai Mok, the principal of High School Number 1 in Luong City, walking alongside Vuong Antoine, the honorable mayor of Luong City. Seeing the big bosses appear, the dean acts like he's struck gold and rushes over to snitch. "Principal, it's this brat Trando he." But Principal Lai Mok just gives a faint smirk. He nods once, completely ignoring the fat dean's tattling. The principal walks straight up to the young man and asks kindly, "Are you Trando?" He nods obediently. "Yes, I am Trando." The principal smiles and turns to introduce him. "Trando, we specifically came here to meet you. This is Mayor Vuong." Trando greets him politely. "Hello, Mr. Mayor." "Hello, Principal. May I ask what this is about?" Mayor Vuong heartily claps him on the shoulder and laughs. "This kid has become number 1 on the Luong City youth rankings and has even cracked the top 10,000 on the global Lam Tin youth leaderboard. The whole world, mind you, I absolutely had to come and see what kind of prodigy you are. Ha 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 ha!" That earth-shattering news makes the students and even the dean stare with wide eyes, completely shocked. What top 10,000 on the global Lam Tin leaderboard? Oh my god, is Trando actually that legendary? With that kind of power? He could just flatten Fong Du. He wouldn't need any stimulants at all. A male student in this crowd gasps in admiration. Bro Du is too strong. He's definitely getting into the Hongqi class. Mayor Vuong kindly tells him, "Follow us to the meeting room first. There are a few things we need to discuss with you." Trando obediently replies, "Yes, sir." The mayor adds, "After we're done, you should head straight to the Hongqi class to register. Teacher Lang insisted yesterday that you must be transferred to that class no matter what." The scene shifts to the door of the meeting room with its imposing sign. As they walk in, two male students are already standing there. They bow and greet, "Hello, Mr. Mayor, hello, Principal." It's McLoy number 1 of the Hongqi class at school number 1 and Lu Bak, a senior from school number 2 and runner-up of the Luong City youth rankings. The three young men lock eyes. Even though they don't know each other, they politely nod in greeting. Sitting at the head of the long table, Mayor Vuong gets straight to the point. "I'll keep this brief. 100 cities under our Tuvan district are preparing to organize a competition for high school seniors." He continues, "Each city will send the 3 top students based on martial arts skills, and these rankings are locked based on data as of 6 o'clock last night." The students' eyes light up as they hear the mayor's briefing. Under the guidance of a martial artist above level 15, you will participate in the city's championship tournament, which will last for 3 days. The venue will be high school number 1. Hearing about the rewards, Trando becomes hyper-focused. The top 10 in this tournament will receive bonus points for the university entrance exam and cash prizes. The minimum reward is 10 bonus points and 100,000 RMB. Principal Lai Mok smiles kindly, clasping his hands together. "Are you all ready to participate?" Lu, the friend wearing the beanie, curiously asked. "Mr. Mayor, if this is based on martial arts rankings, why is this competition not using virtual combat simulations?" Mayor Vuong immediately explained, "Compared to virtual combat, the district leaders all agreed that real-life combat is more effective. There will be martial arts experts on site to ensure safety. Furthermore, during the matches, you will all wear special protective gear and fight at the same vital intensity level." Trando silently calculated in his mind, "With my current martial arts level, I should at least be in the top 20 of Tuvan district. Plus, with my rapid daily progress, making it into the top 3 definitely won't be a problem." The principal slowly took a sip of tea. Then he encouraged them, "Even if you don't make the top 10, you can use this opportunity to gain experience and understand your peers' levels. Don't put too much mental pressure on yourselves." Trando decisively raised his hand and spoke up. "Mr. Mayor, Mr. Principal, I will participate." Lu, standing beside him, chimed in, "Me too." Mayor Vuong smiled approvingly. "Very good heroes emerge from the youth, that's certainly true. Once the departure time is finalized, we will let you know in advance. For now, you kids go back to class." On the way back, Trando clenched his fists, determined, "If I reach the top 3 in this citywide competition, Mom and Dad won't have to work themselves to the bone from dawn till late at night anymore. I must win a spot in the top 3. As his thoughts faded, he reached out to open the door to his new classroom. Trando looked around for an empty desk and wondered to himself, "The desks and chairs in my old classroom all had students' names on them. Why doesn't Hongqi class have them? Oh well, I'll just sit anywhere for now." Before he could even settle in, a large hand slammed down onto the desk, shouting, "Hey, get lost! Who do you think you are? Do you even have the qualifications to sit here, huh?" The person who spoke was Bang Ho, ranked 10th in Hongqi class with such a massive physique that Trando had to wonder, are they raising a bear in this class or what? Being rudely chased off, he raised an eyebrow, slammed his hand on the desk, and clicked his tongue. Not showing a hint of flinching, Trando stood up calmly to face the arrogant giant directly. Clenching his fist, Trando thought wearily, "What era is this that people are still pulling at this school bullying act?" Right at that moment, Lu stepped forward and placed a hand on both their shoulders to intervene. Bang Ho Trando is a new student, so he's not familiar with the rules of Hongqi class yet. Trando glanced briefly at his benefactor, sweating bullets. In surprise, he thought. He approached in silence. When did he get there? His vital intensity is at least 2 levels higher than mine. Bang Ho gave a cold snort and let it slide. "Consider yourself lucky. Out of respect for McLoy, I'll let you off this time." After the big guy left, the friend in the beanie calmly explained, "Since it's your first time in Hongqi class, you might not know the power ranking system here. It's decided by seat number." He pointed toward the empty chairs. "The monthly battle for seat numbers uses combat to determine the order. The 10 students at the bottom have to stand during class for the entire following month." Hearing about this harsh rule, Trando couldn't help but be shocked, thinking, "I didn't expect the competitive pressure in Hongqi class to be this intense." The beanie-wearing friend smiled and pointed forward, concluding, "However, right now it is in the beginning of the month, so this month's seating is already settled. So in a little while, you'll have to compete to win a seat through a challenge." Just as he heard the explanation, Trando smiled and curiously asked, "Besides being able to sit during class, are there any other benefits to this seat ranking?" he calculated to himself. After all this question, will also determine how much of my power I'll have to use in a bit. Naturally, the higher the seat ranking, the better. The friend in the beanie enthusiastically explained in detail, because it determines your resource allowance for this month. Hearing the word resource, Trando's eyes lit up, deciding firmly, well then it's worth a try, resources after all. I have to do my best to win the highest rank possible. Just then, Teacher Lang arrived with a folder and announced, it's time for class. Everyone head straight to the combat room right next door, moving the scene to in front of the door. Bearing the combat room sign, the whole class had obediently gathered inside a spacious training hall. Standing next to Trando, Teacher Lang loudly announced the rules. The challenger can issue a maximum of 3 challenges. I will assign the corresponding seat number based on your performance in the combat. Immediately, Trando swung his hand and raised his sword high, loudly declaring, I want to challenge for the number 10 spot. The moment the words left his mouth, Teacher Lang jumped in shock, breaking into a sweat and gasping, What? From the very start you want to— A challenge for a spot in the top 10. The surrounding classmates also gaped and whispered among themselves, This Trando looks so gentle and honest. Why is his true personality so arrogant? Another student clicked his tongue, analyzing, Even if this kid has outstanding martial arts skills, his vital intensity is way too far off. Uncompared to the others in Hongqi class, just on this point alone, it's not enough to challenge for the top 10. Ignoring all the trash talk, Trando half drew his sword, his eyes fixed with resolve as he calculated that the resource subsidy for the 10th place spot was a full 50% higher than the 11th. His eyes burned with fierce determination. For that alone, it was worth taking the risk. From behind, the hulking Bang Ho lumbered over with his massive sledgehammer, sneering, Just barely stepped into the Hongqi class and you're already running your mouth? Don't come crying to me when you get smashed in a minute. Ha 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 ha! Seeing the giant looming before him, Trando looked up and asked with feigned innocence, Just to confirm, are you the one holding the 10th place spot? Bang Ho let out a savage laugh, baring his teeth in a menacing growl. That's right, blame your bad luck, kid. Seeing things heating up, Teacher Lang immediately stepped in. Bang Ho, put on your protective gear and get in the arena. Watching from the sidelines, Teacher Lang smiled in approval. I thought he was the calm type. I never expected him to be so eager to prove himself. But this is good, too. Let him get a taste of some hardship. It's a form of training in itself. The official match was set. Bang Ho, radiating murderous intent, charged in with his hammer. While Trando stood perfectly still, his back turned, the referee's clear call rang out, Begin! The giant charged, bellowing to intimidate him. Hey, kid, have you prepared yourself for this? Just wait and see. Come here, hug my legs, and beg for mercy. Trando calmly channeled his internal energy. A brilliant blue aura flared around him, his cold retort cutting through the air as the massive sledgehammer descended with terrifying speed. Looming over his small opponent, Bang Ho gave it everything he had, bringing down a lethal blow with a smug roar. Your reaction is way too slow. The spectators below gaped, analyzing the disparity. Look at that speed difference. Trando's life force intensity is a full level lower than Bang Ho's. It's over for him. Start getting ready for the next match. Just a 0.1 difference in life force is enough to decide the winner. Especially with a full level gap, Trando is guaranteed to lose. On the observation deck, Teacher Lang frowned sharply, noticing something unusual. 5.2. A while ago, Trando's life force was only 5.1, and that was only yesterday. How in the hell did he reach 5.2 this fast? Certain he had landed the hit, Bang Ho let out a wild, crazed laugh. You lost! Ha 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 ha! The heavy hammer slammed into the floor, creating a violent shockwave, but his smile suddenly froze. Realizing the horrifying truth, he looked down stunned and stammered, Huh? As he saw Trando tucked perfectly into the space right beneath the hammerhead. A confident smirk quirked on the young man's lips. Not giving his opponent a moment to react, Trando unleashed a powerful upward thrust, his sword wreathed in a blinding blue aura. Striking directly upward, the sheer force sent Bang Ho's massive frame soaring into the air like a toy before he fell freely and landed with a pathetic thud. He hit the ground right in front of his classmates who stood petrified, mouths agape at the strike they had just witnessed. Teacher Lang couldn't hide his shock, blurting out, Dragon thrust. He hurriedly grabbed his student's hand, demanding, Has your martial arts technique really reached the perfected first tier? About that, Trando said, scratching his head sheepishly. I got lucky last night and managed to break through. Teacher Lang's mouth twitched, his mind reeling. Lucky. He broke through and spiked 90% in just one night. This leveling speed is absolutely insane. Seeing his teacher frozen in a trance, Trando nudged him with the hilt of his sword. Teacher, jolted back to reality. Teacher Lang immediately turned around and announced loudly, "The winner is Trando." The winner. The whole room erupted in wild excitement. He actually won. He overcame a full-level gap. That's insane. He finished it in just one move. The student in the beanie rubbed his chin, sighing. I never expected Trando to be a true late bloomer. Teacher Lang stepped forward and asked, "You've secured the number 10 seat. Do you want to continue challenging for higher spots?" Trando shook his head firmly. "No, sir." He calculated that moving up a few more spots wouldn't change the resource subsidy much. It was better to preserve his stamina for now. The boy in the beanie held up his phone in a friendly gesture. "Trando, let's exchange WeChats. We're classmates after all. It'll be easier to stay in touch." Other students swarmed in. "Me too, I want to add you as well," feeling overwhelmed by the crowd. Trando broke out in a cold sweat, giving an awkward, strained smile. "Sure, definitely." Meanwhile, Bang Ho scrambled up, groveling and clinging to his leg. "Great Trando, please don't hold it against a small fry like me. I hope you won't take my words from earlier to heart." This display left everyone speechless, thinking, he really knows when to bow and when to stand tall. As the class remained in an uproar, Teacher Lang looked back with a deep, calculating gaze. "Full of schemes," he said in a serious tone. "Trando, remember to come to my office after class," leaving the young man standing there confused with a huge question mark over his head. Scene transitioned to outside the office. A knock sounded at the door, and Principal Lee Moo, who was working, invited them in. Teacher Lang led Trando inside and got straight to the point. "Principal regarding the Everest Martial Arts University and the Taishan Martial Arts University in our ecological zone. Are there still any early special admission spots available?" The principal looks confused, gesturing for him to sit down first. "Why are you suddenly asking about this?" Master Lang declares firmly, "I want to see if Trando can try for early special admission." Principal Lai Mok breaks into a cold sweat, explaining, "Everest and Tai Sun martial arts universities are in the top 8 most prestigious schools. They have strict minimum requirements. Their martial arts skill requirement is perfect Tier 1. Don't be fooled because Trando is only 1% away. That 1% is an incredibly difficult threshold to cross." With the teacher and student still standing there with unwavering expressions, the principal sighs helplessly. "Lang Van, you really are stubborn, aren't you?" "Stubborn." Master Lang replies bluntly, "Principal talk is cheap, just let the boy try." The principal points to the measuring machine over there. Its maximum limit is Advanced Tier 1, perfect for testing students. Master Lang immediately orders, "Trando, recreate the attack you just used in the match. Get into position on the machine." Trando steps forward, closes his eyes, and clears his mind. Standing before the dummy target, his eyes suddenly snap open sharp and filled with battle spirit. In a flash, he draws his sword, a decisive movement like an arrow cutting through the wind, pulsing with power as he unleashes his signature move. Dragon Point. A streak of azure energy slams into the machine with immense force. The principal is startled, almost dropping his teacup. "What?" Master Lang adds proudly. "Even I didn't expect this. Just yesterday he was at Advanced Tier 1, but overnight he's broken through to Perfect Tier 1. The head of the dummy machine starts smoking and snaps off, falling to the ground. Trando breaks into a cold sweat, apologizing frantically. I'm so sorry, Principal. I didn't think the machine would break." Master Lang gestures excitedly, asserting, "Principal, he is absolutely a combat genius. His instincts were born for victory. Truly rare and precious," Master Lang exclaims endlessly. "Honestly, in all my years of teaching, this is the first time I've met a student who feels so battle-hardened as if he's already been through countless wars. Life and death struggles." Standing behind Trando breaks into a cold sweat, amazed at how sharp the teacher's intuition is. Principal Lai Mok strokes his beard, calculating. "A genius. A martial arts genius. He must absolutely be prioritized for training. Let's temporarily allocate him training resources equal to the top-ranked student." He clears his throat and instructs, "I will handle the early special admission contact. For the upcoming city championship, Tran, you must try your absolute best to make it into the top 3. If you can do that, that admission slot will basically be yours." Trando scratches his head, confused, and raises his hand, laughing awkwardly. Excuse me, Principal. What exactly is early special admission?" Master Lang patiently explains, To get into the top 8 prestigious schools through the regular entrance exam, your vitality intensity must reach at least 6.5. With your current vitality intensity, reaching that standard before the entrance exam is extremely difficult. Hearing this, Trando listens intently, his face showing a thoughtful and incredibly serious expression. Master Lang continues. But if you take the special admission route, you only need your martial arts skill to hit perfect Tier 1 a month before the exam. At that point, teachers from Everest and Tai Sun martial arts universities will come to the school in person to evaluate you. After the city championship, the boy asks, so if I pass the early special admission for those 2 schools, can I still participate in the regular entrance exam to get into other martial arts schools? Master Lang asks in return. Is there another martial arts university you want to attend more? Trando answers clearly, if I can, I'd like to go to Hwangsan Martial Arts University. Master Lang frowns confused. Why? The resources provided by all of the top 8 prestigious schools are pretty much the same. Trando's gaze suddenly turns icy. A flash of lightning appears behind him as if signaling a stormy past. Tragic memories surfaced 6 years ago in the Van Loi district of Taeho City. It was ruthlessly ambushed by the giant tribe, leaving a deep, unforgettable emotional scar. Memories flooded back with the brutal imagery of that prolonged conflict. Even though the Taeho defense squad and massive reinforcements from neighboring cities rushed to help the scene of the ruined city, a haunting wasteland appeared. However, human strength is limited and the enemy was too numerous. That tragedy claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. Remembering that horrific scene, Trando lowers his eyes slightly, praying, I just hope my family is always safe and sound. His eyes suddenly glow with absolute determination. If Luong City ever happens to face a crisis, some kind of disaster, I hope I have enough strength to rush back immediately and protect everyone. Hearing such a profound and mature reason, Master Lang is surprised, silently assessing, so that's why. Usually only those who have experienced a broken home have such thoughtful reasoning. He silently nods in recognition. A young student at such an age living in a warm family yet having such deep awareness. This boy absolutely has the backbone to carry great responsibilities in the future. Clearing the heavy atmosphere, Trando speaks up innocently. Well then, I'll treat Everest and Tai Sun universities as my safe backup plans, okay? I mean, if I don't get into Hwangsan, I can still attend those other 2 schools, right? Principal Lai Mok, who had been typing away, suddenly turned back and threw a bucket of cold water on him. I'm sorry, young man, that's not how it works. Once you're accepted through the early special admission track, you will be required to sign a strictly binding contract with that school. And there's no backing out, Teacher Lang added, putting an arm around his star pupil to both comfort and coax him. If you secure a top rank in the 100 Cities Hegemony Tournament next month, that golden ticket to those 2 schools is practically yours. I've calculated everything carefully. With this special admission route, the entry requirement will be slashed by a whole 100 points, he added with heavy emphasis. But if you stubbornly pass up this chance, and not only will your vitality intensity training have to be grinded to the max to hit 6.5, but the maximum bonus points for the university entrance exam will only be reduced by 30. Take it from someone who's been there, don't treat your future like a joke. Hearing the pros and cons laid out so persuasively, Trando could only give a wry smile and nod. Yes, sir, thank you both for your concern. I will definitely think about this very carefully. The scene shifts to the bustling school gate. Trando strolls toward home, mentally calculating the timeline. The special admission exam takes place right after the 100 Cities Hegemony, which means he still has over a month and a half left. While absent-mindedly crossing the street, he begins mapping out his intense cultivation plan from today until the entrance exams. I've decided to lock myself in the exclusive martial arts training room the school just provided. I'm going into seclusion to focus all my energy on boosting my strength. He muttered to himself, calculating his expenses for this grinding period. I might as well try to buy some elixirs to speed up my vitality intensity increase. Whatever I need, they'll surely have it there. After all, that chain of stores is managed by the Martial Arts and Technology Hall. Trando's train of thought led to macro-level knowledge about the world. Throughout this supreme martial arts civilization, there are 3 peak factions working closely together day and night to protect the future and hope of all humanity. The first force appears with the image of a warrior. Brave and bearing heavy responsibilities, they specialize in directly confronting extraterrestrial civilizations. That is, the Pole Martial Hall. The second force emerges with incredibly cool gear. They specialize in research and upgrading the overall strength of humanity. none other than the Martial Arts and Technology Hall. And the third force, as majestic as Mount Tai, is the team dedicated to guarding the peace, in maintaining social order for humanity, the honored Martial Artists Alliance. Along with that comes a legendary tale about the founder, the man who created the Martial Arts and Technology Hall, none other than Duras, who is revered as the second strongest in civilization. Although his power is still ranked behind Ian, his immense contributions to the development of humanity are absolutely undeniable. Lost in thought, Trando steps into a high-tech pharmaceutical store. The sales clerk bows politely. "Welcome, sir. It is my pleasure to serve you." The young man gets straight to the point. "Hi there, please sell me 3 boxes of Thunder Chi blood pills." Hearing the name of the elixir, the clerk's eyes go wide in shock as she blurts out, "Sir, did you just say Thunder Chi blood pills?" Regaining her professional composure, she explains softly, "This type of medicine cannot be sold directly, sir. We are required to test the customer's tolerance first. Please follow me." It turns out the Thunder Chi blood pill is one of the most high-end divine medicines that an ordinary person can get their hands on before officially becoming a martial artist. But good stuff always comes with risks. Once consumed, its medicinal properties turn into currents of lightning that run gradually along the meridians in the body. Even more terrifyingly, if the user cannot maintain extreme mental focus for 30 minutes, those lightning bolts will run wild inside the body. In the best case, you go insane. In the worst, it directly threatens your life. It's no joke. Explaining that, the clerk waves her hand. "Please come inside, sir." He begins to understand the store's cautious procedure. No wonder, when buying stimulants this powerful, people are required to undergo a tolerance test to avoid unexpected accidents. The clerk standing by the machine speaks up. "Mr. Tran, if you don't have any more questions, then I will proceed to press the start button now." Without the slightest hesitation, Tran Do places his hand on the magnetic sensor board that is glowing a brilliant blue to prepare for the test of grit. His face exudes a calm, unflappable confidence. He replies blandly, "I am ready." The tolerance testing machine starts running the control screen, flickering rapidly to transmit electric currents along his arm to assess the limits of the young customer. But only a few seconds later, the clerk suddenly stares in amazement, cold sweat breaking out on her forehead, a giant question mark clearly visible on her face. Seeing the customer standing there as still as a wooden post, ignoring her shocked expression, Trando puts both hands in his pockets and leisurely walks out, leaving behind the sound of the clerk frantically calling for help. "Hello, technical department. Yes, the test machine for the Thunder Chi blood pills seems to have short-circuited and broken down. Money spent transaction successful." Trando dashed straight to the school's exclusive martial arts training room, settled into a corner, and muttered the instructions. "Take 1 pill every day for 10 days, and that counts as 1 cycle. The maximum limit is to take 3 pills all at once, which also constitutes a cycle followed by a very serious warning label. If you take 3 pills at once, the pain level will multiply by 5, compared to taking them individually, and even if you gulp down 13 pills, the time it takes to kick in is still 30 minutes. After 3 to 5 cycles of torturing the body, antibodies will start to appear, and the medicine will gradually lose its effect." He poured the sparkling capsules into his palm. He smirked confidently, thinking that the pain level from the strength testing machine at the store earlier was at its max, and that was only 50% of the potency of just one of these pills. He felt that to him it was as light as a feather, as easy as eating candy. The bold and daring kid decided to go big, arrogantly, calculating that taking 3 pills at once would probably only hurt 10 times as much as the store machine, right? That's completely within this young master's control. With that, he tipped his head back and swallowed all 3 medicinal pills in one go, but the moment the medicinal power exploded, Trando's pupils contracted violently, his eyes rolled back, and green veins popped out all over his face, as a violent surge of lightning ripped through the roof and began ravaging the poor kid's internal organs. Trando gritted his teeth and braced himself amidst the lightning. With thunder rolling all over his body and sweat pouring down like a waterfall, he still smirked and arrogantly muttered, "Is that really all you've got?" The lightning storm passed. He breathed a long sigh of relief, as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted. The system interface appeared congratulating him. Vitality intensity increased from 5.2 to 5.3. Trandu excitedly punched the air. "That's awesome. I'm 1 step closer to level 6.5. As long as the growth rate stays like this, I'll be able to turn down that early special admission path." Glancing at the expensive pill box, he started doing some tiring mental math. He thought he could last a month, but since he went big and took 3 at once, he'd be broke in 10 days. Based on the current balance on my card, I can only last about another 55 days. He flopped onto the floor, leaning his back against the wall, and clicked his tongue. At this rate of burning money, I absolutely have to risk everything to get into the top 2 of the 100 Cities Hegemony tournament. Only then will I make enough money to keep training. Suddenly, his whole body jerked violently. He winced. I didn't expect the side effects of taking the Thunder Chi and blood pill for the first time to be this brutal. His whole body was numb and stiff, unable to move from the damage of the lightning power. With saliva leaking from the corner of his mouth, the exhausted guy decided to switch gears. Since my body is wrecked, I'll switch to grinding mental power. Crystal space, here I come. The next day, Trando stretched and warmed up, feeling refreshed. He'd spent the whole night in the crystal space grinding and slaughtering green firefly giants, and although he hadn't taken down the final boss, his mental power had increased significantly. Remembering the scene of dancing with his sword and unleashing moves to hack monsters to pieces the night before, he grew even more confident in his strength. Walking into class, he calculated the subsidy the school had just sent. He was in high spirits. On the podium, the hot red-haired teacher, Nha Diep, a member of the Martial Artist Alliance, announced, "Students, today we will study ahead in about a combat method for mental power-assisted martial artists." The whole class stared in surprise as this was an exclusive course reserved only for the Hong Chi class. It gathered the elites whose mental power reached level 2 or higher. Plus, the vitality intensity of this amazing teacher exceeded level 15. Teacher Nha Diep explained enthusiastically. The higher the martial arts skills, the more fully physical strength is unleashed, but if you master mental power, you will achieve double the effect, while only using half the effort. An illustration appeared on the screen, and the teacher pointed out the difference. Physical strength triggered by martial arts is usually dispersed throughout the body, but mental power allows you to concentrate all your excess strength into one point, thereby increasing explosive power and the ability to focus every bit of strength in your body to play its proper role. That is mental power assistance, the teacher concluded, but Trando glanced around and saw his classmates looking blank. He secretly thought that with this calm reaction, the rich kids must have been tutored and mastered this secret technique beforehand. Teacher Nha Diep wore a stern expression as she added a warning, "I remind you, before your mental power reaches level 10, the physical strength that can be mobilized by mental power assistance is extremely limited, so I don't recommend you waste too much time studying it yet. To get high scores in the university entrance exam, your main goal now must still be increasing your vitality intensity." Suddenly, the teacher pulled out a short flute that glowed brilliantly and ordered, "Next, I will test everyone's mental power." The whole class stood up and the students clattered into a line. The teacher strolled about explaining, "In a moment I will play a melody with this short flute to accurately measure your mental power. I hope everyone's performance will be better than last semester." The red-haired teacher turned to look at Trando with a look of leniency. "Student Tran, you are new here, so you have the right to choose whether to participate or not. Anyway, this doesn't affect your university entrance exam score." Trando was stunned for a moment, not understanding what was happening. The kid immediately deduced, "Surely, the teacher thinks my mental power is stuck at level 1, and as soon as I hear the flute, I'll pass out, so she's afraid I'll be embarrassed." Thinking that, he declared loudly, "Teacher, I will participate." Teacher Nha Diep smiled, slightly full of hidden meaning. "Very well. Kids these days really love to show off. Their mental strength is no joke. The other students in Hong Chi's class are honestly just fledglings in this field." She pressed the flute to her lips, thinking to herself, whatever. Since he's Master Lang Van's star student, if the kid collapses later, I'll just keep him back to comfort him privately. She then raised her voice to warn the class, "Everyone focus. Gather all your strength and resist. My song of fatigue will target both your bodies and your minds, and drain you both at the same time." Trando shouted clearly, his spirit burning, while the boys around him were already breaking into a cold sweat. The bewitching sound of the flute began as purple illusory sound waves snaked through the room. It carried a heavy invisible pressure. Contrary to expectations, Trando stood tall and unwavering amidst the purple mist, his expression unchanged. He felt a strange surge of energy, penetrating his mind. This sensation is... His eyes sharpened his mind as keen as a blade slicing right through it. The fatigue trying to surround him was easily kicked away along with the hallucinations trying to manipulate his mind. He marveled to himself, "This is a damn good move. It's like physical hypnosis using mental power. Brushing off the attack with a smirk, Trando felt that this challenge was completely under his control. Ms. Nadiep, lost in her playing, glanced over in surprise to see the new student still standing there unmoved. He closed his eyes and relaxed as if he were listening to a symphony, leaving the teacher stunned. Can the kid really hold on? He didn't even twitch an eyebrow. He's acting like he's just taking a sip of water. The corner of Ms. Nadiep's mouth curled up with interest. All right, it seems this kid's mental strength is way tougher than I thought. Channeling her power, the teacher decided to crank it up to see how long he could last. She was going to raise the difficulty of the mental strength test. She dialed it up a notch. As the song's volume surged, the surrounding students started dropping like flies, collapsing to the floor and crying out in misery. Damn it, I'm so exhausted, my legs have turned to jelly. I can't even stand anymore. Looking around the classroom at the bodies sprawled out, Ms. Nadiep thought smugly, as expected, most of these kids can't handle it. But what about you? But as she looked toward Trando, her flute playing nearly skipped a beat. Her eyes widened in confusion and she gasped, What the hell is going on? The teenager was still standing tall and proud in the midst of the terrifying pressure. The teacher couldn't hide her shock. The kid is dirt poor. How could he afford items to boost his mental strength? Could he be a natural mental talent martial arts genius, and mental genius are two completely different categories? This is the first time I've ever seen someone possess both talents at the same time. Meanwhile, the giant, drenched in sweat, had already surrendered, with hands clasped, yet shamelessly consoled himself. The harder Trandu hits, the more it proves that my strength isn't weak at all. Losing yesterday wasn't exactly unfair. Among the sea of fallen students, two others suddenly jumped to their feet, their eyes widening and flashing with a brilliant light, a sign that the situation had completely changed. Lu Bak, lying sprawled on the arena floor, couldn't help but stare in terror. This kid doesn't just have martial arts talent. Even his spiritual power is this overwhelming. If he had a better background, he would have easily made it into the top 3 elite universities. Teacher Nadiep gritted her teeth and pushed up her glasses, cranking her flute's power to the max. Even the class topper MacLoy had collapsed at level 6, yet Trando was somehow enduring level 7. Then try tasting this level 8 spiritual pressure. Taking the full force hit, Trando braced himself, letting out a deep, muffled groan amidst the purple shockwaves as a colossal purple spiritual avatar loomed behind her, exerting thousands of pounds of pressure onto the young student's shoulders. The energy collision exploded violently, and Trando struggled to throw up his hands to defend against the waves. With cold, jarring impact, he resisted with extreme difficulty. Sweat poured down his face, and he grimaced, muttering, "It's way too heavy." His eyes were wide with tension veins bulging on his forehead under the savage mental pressure. Trando had to hunch over, hands on his knees, bracing himself to stay upright so he wouldn't be knocked down. Witnessing this scene, a teacher Nadiep was completely shocked, thinking to herself, so a mental battle doesn't just exhaust the mind, it tortures the body too. His spiritual power even surpasses his physical vitality. He really is a miracle. Not to mention Trando's martial arts talent is incredibly high. He could totally follow the path of spiritual immunity and just tear his enemies apart with his bare hands. Teacher Lang stood watching, smacking his lips in admiration of his star pupil's incredible grit. This kid is simply the perfect warrior to deal with the Great Eye civilization. The scene then cut quickly to the principal's office, where a shrill shout rang out. What Trando possesses both martial arts talent and spiritual talent. Standing in the office, Teacher Nadiep crossed her arms proudly and firmly, asserting, "That's correct, Principal. I checked it myself," and confirmed it right there in the classroom. Principal Limak heard this and was so shocked his hair stood on end, his jaw dropping. He had just been talking to Trando about his current situation. How could he? I bet this kid has the full potential to become a level 20 martial artist, also known as a sky-soaring martial artist. Teacher Nadiep was just as stunned. A sky-soaring martial artist, a legendary existence that can actually fly among mortals. The principal regained his composure, tapping his fingers as he analyzed. Sky-soaring martial artists are 1 in a million entities. For a genius like Trando, if he only enters one of the top 8 prestigious schools, it would truly be a waste of talent. He should aim for the 3 top-tier martial arts universities, places that don't take normal students, but only select the seeds capable of becoming dragons. To become a sky-soaring martial artist, I just received classified intel after the 100 Cities Tournament, Black Dragon Martial Arts University, one of those 3 peak institutions, will be holding freshman tryouts in Cyber City Lang Van. Teacher, you must convince Trando to participate no matter what. Teacher Lang stood tall and saluted formally. Understood, Principal. A knock on the office door interrupted Teacher Lang's thoughts. Trando timidly poked his head in and asked, "Excuse me, teacher, did you need me for something?" Teacher Lang sat at his desk and asked seriously, "Trando, do you know anything about Black Dragon University?" Trando scratched his head and answered honestly, "I've heard of it, but I only know it's one of the 3 top-tier martial arts universities. Other than that, I haven't got a clue." The teacher gently explained that's perfectly normal, because the 3 elite martial arts universities don't accept students through the standard entrance exam. They only select extraordinary geniuses who have hope of breaking through to become sky-soaring martial artists. Images of cool, legendary warriors flashed by. Warriors who reach this realm are called sky-soaring martial artists, representing a complete transcendence from the mortal world. And to touch that level, a warrior must satisfy the requirement of having a physical vitality level of 9.9 and martial arts at the first stage mid-level. Teacher Lang continued pouring a bucket of cold reality. However, among warriors from high school age and up, only 50% reach mid-level martial arts, while physical vitality can be raised using blood QE medicine. Not many people can afford such a luxury. Many can't even afford basic blood key milk. By the time they earn enough money, the golden window for training has already passed. Have you thought it through? Trando just fell silent, head bowed, pondering his future. Suddenly, his eyes became determined. He lifted his head and said firmly, "Teacher, about the tryouts for Black Dragon Martial Arts." "I want to give it a shot." But deep down, a hidden worry rose. If he could, he really didn't want to leave his family. This trip could very well be a long, drawn-out farewell. Teacher Lang smiled encouragingly. "Good, give it your absolute best. Given your current situation, if you take the early special admissions path, a ticket into the top 8 prestigious schools is basically in your pocket. You could even consider the top 8 schools as a safe backup plan. Put all your effort into Black Dragon Martial Arts University. Your future will be much brighter." Looking straight into his teacher's eyes, Trando narrowed his eyes with determination. He mentally prepared himself. The 100 Cities Hegemony Tournament is in a month. Better prioritize dealing with that first. Wait for the results, then decide that's not too late. As soon as he reached the end of the alley, he heard his mother's voice. "Breakfast is ready. Come eat, son." Seeing his mother carrying a steaming plate of food, Trando replied shyly, "Yes, I'm coming right now." His little sister, chopsticks in hand, suddenly stared at him wide-eyed and confused. "How come lately I feel like my brother's aura is completely different from before?" she marveled to herself. She sized up her brother, who was standing there running a hand through his hair. He looked cooler, his physique was better, more handsome, and he looked mysterious in an unreadable way. Sitting at the dining table, Indu seriously announced to his family, his parents and sister, "Starting today, I'm planning to stay in the school dorms to focus on improving my strength and preparing for the tournament. The 100 Cities Hegemony Tournament is next month." Hearing this, his mother immediately looked worried and anxious. "How will you be able to get any proper rest at school? Being hardworking is good, son. But you have to look after your health, too. What if you pass out like last time?" His little sister chimed in with a question. "Big brother, wasn't the boarding situation already arranged before school started? Can the school really clear out a dorm room for you now?" Trando offered a warm, comforting smile to reassure his mother. "Don't worry too much. The school has already granted me a lot of exclusive training resources, I promise. I won't let myself pass out like before again." Trando explained to put everyone at ease. Every student in the Hongqi class will be provided with a private martial arts training room. It even has a dedicated rest area inside. I'll be training and resting right inside my own training room. His father nodded in approval, feeling proud. "I think that's fine, son. Keep up that drive and continue to make progress. If you need anything, just tell your parents anytime." He gave a gentle smile, empowering his son. "Keep pushing forward steadily, Trando." Trando excitedly replied, then quickly grabbed his backpack and stood up. "Yes, I'm done eating now. I'm heading to school." The whole family happily saw him to the door. His mother nagged, "Remember to take good care of yourself, okay?" His father encouraged, "Go for it, good son," and his little sister cheered him on enthusiastically. "Big brother, you can do it. Bring home the championship trophy for me." While walking across the schoolyard, he mentally tallied the massive amount of resources: 90 bags of blood, enriching serum, 30 blood-enriching pills, and 4 packs of premium blood powder, all resources provided by the school. They had all been moved to his private training room. Roughly estimating this pile must be worth at least 50,000 yuan. Martial arts really is a sport that burns money for the wealthy. Stepping into his private training room, Trando pressed the system activation button and secretly resolved, "From now on, apart from class time, I will focus entirely on training." The training room door slammed shut, separating him from the noisy world outside to begin his journey of extreme isolated training. Standing before the AI controlling the system, he ordered, "Hung, increase gravity 5 times for me." The robotic voice of the AI responded immediately. "Acknowledged, master." The gravity suddenly crushed down, causing him to break into a cold sweat, but Du smirked with excitement. "This pressure feels like having 15 fully grown elephants weighing down on me while fighting the training machine. Pretty interesting, right?" The training robot lit up, its eyes glowing bright red. The system alert sounded loudly. "4th round of training begins." The robot's steel fist descended with immense force. Trando hurriedly dodged, calculating. In this high-gravity environment, any force exerted in the wrong direction could snap a muscle or damage my bones. Absolutely must not engage head-on. He agilely jumped up to dodge a treacherous hook punch. Must actively change its attack trajectory. The machine's analysis interface flashed a red warning: evasion efficiency 87%, energy consumption too high. Recommendation: reduce unnecessary movements. Seeing the robot launch a grueling combination attack both high and low, he frowned, tensed. Attacking high and low at the same time. This blocks all my usual escape routes, doesn't it? But instead of panicking, Trando flashed a confident smile. "If I can't dodge, then I'll let you taste the flavor of this gravity." Increased power. He poured force into his legs and stomped hard on the floor to trigger the training room's anti-gravity mechanism, countering by riding the sudden change in gravity. Making the robot lose its balance, Trando unleashed a lightning-fast, incredibly precise slash. The training machine was hit in its weak point, immediately hissed with smoke and collapsed, and lost all combat capability. However, the robot suddenly flashed a dangerous fiery red light. The system issued an emergency warning: ultimate technique. Witnessing, the robot's parts suddenly stretch out like rubber, locking him in place. Trando widened his eyes in shock. Playing dirty like that, is that even allowed, for heaven's sake? Being held by the robot, tightly unable to move, he helplessly ordered, "Hung and gravity mode." Using the robot, which now loosened its affectionate, tight hug. "That's enough. Now you can let me go." Sitting on the floor panting, Trando lazily told himself, "Phew, my body has reached its limit. Next I'll use the void indestructible visualization technique to improve my mental strength and help my body relax first." His consciousness immediately sank deep into a mysterious dark space, where a giant multi-eyed entity was waiting to challenge him. Trando snapped awake in the dream world, roaring with excitement. "Come on, give me that mental experience points." Returning to reality in the training room, he slowly opened his eyes and smiled with satisfaction. "My mental strength has increased by 0.3 levels. But before he could be proud for long, he had to wince and gasp because of the numbness. "Ouch, both my legs have gone completely numb," he lazily muttered, massaging his body. "My brain is exhausted and my body hasn't fully recovered yet." Without thinking any further, Trando laid flat on his back on the training floor and fell fast asleep. In this situation, it's best to just go to sleep. While sleeping soundly, he suddenly opened his eyes, wide alert, as if he had just sensed something unusual around him. Thinking is doing. Trando immediately prepared his mind. "It's time to enter the crystal space to hone my martial arts skills." He planted his feet firmly on the cold, snowy ground, ready to face the new challenges waiting ahead. Watching the monsters looming in the distance, he told himself. "The blue fire giants have appeared. Last time I still hadn't figured out a way to deal with them, so I couldn't destroy a single one." Trando tightened his grip on the sword behind his back, his eyes filled with determination. "And this time, let's see what I can do." A familiar bright blue spiritual energy flared up, wrapping around his whole body like a suit of protective armor. Looking closely at the strange patches of color on his opponent's skin, he suddenly realized, so those green patches on their bodies aren't a curse or a birthmark, but in fact they are their self-healing energy. Looking closely at the strange patches of color on your opponent's skin, you suddenly realize that those green marks on their body aren't a curse or a birthmark, but are actually self-healing energy. Fast as lightning, he closed the gap and unleashed a direct strike at the massive body of the first monster. As it recoiled, Trando analyzed their weaknesses. Aside from their healing ability, these blue fire giants are just sponges for damage with no special skills, as long as I destroy those sections. Once the blue spots are gone, they aren't scary at all. He felt a distinct change in his body after training in the high-gravity environment. His ability to control himself was already far better than before under normal conditions. With lightning-fast reflexes, he easily dodged a 1,000-pound punch from his opponent with incredible smoothness. A cold glint flashed in Trando's eyes. He swung his sword decisively and roared, "This is my chance!" The precise strike made the giant monster howl in agony before collapsing and shattering into 100 pieces mid-air. Trando stood tall amidst the pack. Looking at the remaining monsters, he thought with excitement, this feeling of agility and being full of vitality. It's truly amazing. As soon as I wake up, I must continue gravity training. He gripped his sword and charged forward. If I keep training like this step by step, I will definitely have a chance to make it into the top 3 of the City Hegemony Tournament. Time flew by and the start of the 100-city tournament. That everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Standing in the lobby of the luxurious Hotel Trando couldn't help but marvel, this is the first time I've ever stepped into such a magnificent hotel. Meanwhile, Teacher Lang Van cautioned them, remember to stay close to each other, everyone. A loud dispute suddenly erupted at the front desk when a contestant shouted, "Are you refusing to let me register?" It turned out to be Wu Tang, a member of the Low City team. He glared angrily, pointing his finger and shouting, "I clearly arrived on time as scheduled. Why are you intentionally trying to make things difficult?" For me like this, you'd better come up with a reasonable explanation. The pressure from the aggressive fighter made the receptionist tremble with fear, and she quickly raised her hands in defense. With an anxious air and intense killing intent, Wu Tang placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, preparing to draw it. The crowd around them began to stir in fear. Is that guy seriously planning to start a fight right here? Witnessing the sharp aura radiating from him, Trando silently judged, the sword intent from this guy is truly powerful. His martial arts skill level is likely not inferior to mine at all. Meanwhile, his friend in the beanie Lubak muttered, is this rude guy really that strong? Suddenly, an elegant voice rang out, just process his registration. It was Chu Tiu Ko, a member of the High City team. She walked up calmly and instructed the staff, just let him register. As for his teammates who are late, just mark them as disqualified. The students below immediately buzzed with excitement as they looked up at the balcony. It's the High Princess. Oh my God, she's even more beautiful and stunning in person than in pictures. No wonder they say she isn't photogenic online. It's true. Adu looked confused and turned to ask his friend in the beanie, who is the High Princess? Lubak whispered a thorough explanation. Her name is Chu Tu Ko, nicknamed the High Princess. She is the only daughter of the principal of High City High School No. 1. Her wealth, reputation, and talent are all top tier. She is truly heaven's favorite. So don't you go daydreaming. You don't stand a chance. But Trando didn't care about the teasing. He watched the girl's silhouette pass by, lost in thought. This face. I've definitely seen it somewhere before. His brain suddenly exploded with realization as a memory came rushing back clearly, making him break into a cold sweat in surprise. He gasped, realizing the shocking truth. She is that little rat who plays dirty in the virtual combat room, that girl who specializes in using underhanded moves. This face is exactly the same. Before I thought, the system just created a random appearance. I didn't expect someone this beautiful to exist in real life. Thinking this, the corners of Trando's mouth curled into a cryptic smile, causing his friend Lubak next to him to glance over with suspicion and wariness. Trando thought excitedly to himself, I never expected to run into my online rival in real life, but she surely doesn't recognize me. Back then, her martial arts skills were already a step ahead of mine, having reached the perfect first-tier realm. I wonder how strong she is now. Deciding to join this 100-city tournament was absolutely the right move. switching scenes to room 301 of the hotel where a teapot was steaming hot, emitting a gentle fragrance in the quiet space. Teacher Lang Van sat down to pour tea, and then began to brief the group. The delegation leaders just announced a change in the rules. This year is a bit different. Before the elimination round, there will be an extra round called the Badge War. Trando asked back, stunned, "The Badge War?" He listened attentively, and curiously asked for more details. "What exactly are these new rules, teacher?" Teacher Lang Van nodded and explained thoroughly. "The 100-city tournament. This time will take place over 3 days with 3 rounds of competition. The first round is the Badge War tomorrow at the Jungle Arena, within a time limit of 13 hours. You must collect 2 badges engraved with the characters Gao and Vu, 2 badges that emit a mystical blue light under the quiet night sky representing the ticket, which is extremely important for the contestants." Teacher Lang continued to explain the regulations. "After obtaining the badges, you must immediately head to the destination point to register. That is how you can pass this round. Whether you're good or not doesn't entirely depend on how many of your teammates make it to the finish line." Trando raised his hand and asked, "Sir, may I ask what is the total number of badges?" Master Lang answered in a deep voice, "There are 50 Gao badges and 50 Wu badges, meaning at most 50 teams can move on. In other words, starting tomorrow, at least half of you will be eliminated on the spot." The teacher took a sip of tea and continued to explain the second round. The second round is a direct one-on-one elimination with an extremely short rest period between matches. Out of 150 people, we must select the 10 best fighters to advance to the third round. Opponents will be drawn randomly, but rest assured you won't have to face your own teammates. The 2 teammates breathed a sigh of relief, patting their chests and muttering, "Thank goodness. Thank heavens we don't have to face that monster Trando." Trando just stood there, stunned and blank-faced from being called a monster. Master Lang raised his hand to conclude, "The final round, the third round, is the championship match, also known as the Battle of the Top 10. Just making it this far means you've already secured a victory, because all students in the top 10 get bonus points for their university entrance exams and receive huge cash prizes. As for whether or not you can break into the top 3, it depends entirely on your condition. This is 3 days of non-stop fighting, not to mention the risk of getting injured along the way. The one who wins first place might not be the strongest in pure melee combat, but they will certainly be the person with the most comprehensive strength." Master Lang Van suddenly raised a finger, finishing with a serious look. "One last thing." The teacher's tone turned extremely stern. "Absolutely no killing, whether in the tournament or in real life. This rule applies to the rest of your lives. Our enemies are otherworldly civilizations. You must never turn your blades against your own teammates." The students broke into a cold sweat as the teacher continued his instructions. "You will participate in the tournament wearing uniforms. These special uniforms help balance your life force intensity. On that day, we, the team leaders, will also enter to protect you from the shadows." He grinned mysteriously. "But it would be best if you prayed that I don't have to intervene, because if I have to step in, it means your entire team will be eliminated immediately. Starting tomorrow, everything depends on you. Believe in yourselves, and no matter what happens, give it your all." Hearing the teacher's threatening words of encouragement, Trando and his teammates shouted in unison, "Yes, sir!" The scene shifted to the campus of High City High School No. 1, where skyscrapers stood close together. As soon as he stepped into the gathering area, Trando looked around in bewilderment. "Is this a forest?" A man in a formal suit stepped up to the podium, adjusted his glasses, and began to speak. "It seems everyone is here. I am Chuthan, principal of High City High School No. 1, and I am also one of the organizers of this citywide tournament." He pointed toward a giant stone wall and introduced it. "Behind the gate in front of you is a forest. This is a special environment found only at High City High School No. 1. Formed from a space-time rift created when 9 large planets collided many centuries ago, we call it the Spirit Realm, and this specific location has the lowest difficulty level. Level 1 Spirit Realm, the Forest of Mad Wolves, Trando thought in amazement. A spirit realm, that's a parallel dimension completely devoid of humans and crawling with monsters everywhere. Principal Chuthan raised a finger, assuring them, "Don't worry, it is an extremely stable alternative dimension. Its safety has been personally certified by the world's 3rd strongest person, who is also the founder of the Martial Arts Alliance. There won't be any problems at all." but he immediately changed his tone to a deep murderous one. However, I must still warn you of one thing. This trial truly carries a risk of death. You must be extremely careful. On the other side of the line, the sullen Wu-Tang was walking alone when the teacher pointed at him and warned, Wu-Tang, don't think that walking alone means you can act independently. We will assign teammates based on your level. This left him fuming. Looking over at the eccentric guy, Trando sweated slightly, thinking, that guy looks like he's annoyed with everyone he sees. The biometric scanner at the door of the testing room flashed green, signaling the iris scan was complete. The massive steel doors slowly opened and the speaker system announced loudly, Prepare to enter the forest of mad wolves. Thousands of contestants stepped onto a massive stone platform engraved with glowing formations. Trando looked up, wondering, so is this the forest of mad wolves? Principal Chuthan stood above, explaining, the true location of the spirit realm is top secret. This is a magic circle that leads to the forest, a backup plan that our predecessors spent a lot of effort to establish in case the space-time rift closes suddenly. Even if there is an incident, we can still use this magic circle to bring you all out safely. The system interface appeared, showing detailed instructions in front of the team. Everyone step into the magic circle. In a moment, each team will be teleported randomly to one of 1,000 points inside the Forest of Mad Wolves. Among the 300 badge-marked locations on the map, only 100 actually contain badges. The rest are decoys. Good luck to you all. The magic circle under their feet suddenly flared brightly. The system flashed a warning, preparing for activation. A brilliant beam of light shot straight into the sky, taking all the contestants with it, vanishing in an instant. When the light dimmed, Trando shielded his eyes with his hand and slowly opened them to adapt to the new environment. Looking at the towering ancient trees that blocked out the sky above, he muttered, so this is the spirit realm. His teammate Lu Bok, standing next to him, hurriedly pulled out the map and asked, which marked point should we head toward first? Trando slid his finger across the virtual hologram screen and shouted excitedly, we're so lucky! There's a badge right next to our starting point. Let's see if it's the real deal. The two teammates nodded eagerly in agreement. Let's do it. The team quickly approached an ancient stone pillar in the middle of the forest. When Trando touched it, the pillar emitted a blue light displaying the character Gao. He curiously tapped his finger directly on the Gao button, which was glowing brightly on the stone pedestal. Lu Bok, standing by, grinned and patted his shoulder. I thought any marker near the starting area would surely be a fake. I didn't expect it to have a real badge. It looks like your luck isn't bad at all. If so, let's pick the next point. But before he could finish his sentence, Trando's eyes suddenly narrowed alert, as he felt a lurking danger the moment they stepped into the spirit realm. His friend Lu Bok suddenly widened his eyes and shouted desperately, watch out! A giant spear tore through the air, slamming into the ground right in front of the group like a provocative declaration of war. Trando glanced over, calmly remarking, didn't expect anyone to make a move faster than us. Rapid footsteps echoed, signaling the ambushers had closed in instantly. The leader of the opposing group arrogantly boasted, so you're the team from Luong City, right? If you don't want to be eliminated early, you'd better hand over your badges now. Lu Bok, standing behind, broke into a cold sweat, realizing this was the team from Khan City, a city with a much more developed and comprehensive infrastructure. Looking at their armbands, he worried internally, generally speaking, the bigger the city, the stronger the students. Meanwhile, at the grandstands of High School Number 1 in High City, the big screen suddenly broadcast the match live. Looks like a few teams have already run into each other. That was fast. They haven't even been in the spirit realm for 10 minutes, have they? Maybe their starting points were too close, and their destinations just happened to overlap. In the corner of the VIP stand, Principal Cao Diem of Khan City smiled sinisterly and patted Limok on the shoulder. Sorry, old friend, but tonight I'll pay for the round-trip airfare for you and your students to pack up and head back to Luong City. Ha ha ha! Principal Limok turned pale, muttering, why did we have to run into old Cao Diem's school right in the first round? Back in the jungle arena, Trando carried his sword behind his back, smirking arrogantly as he replied, you think you can eliminate us with just you people? The leader from Khan City glared furiously, threatening, if you're smart, just hand over your badges voluntarily. Trando squinted, smiling mockingly at his opponent. You don't think that coming from a big city automatically makes you stronger than a small city, do you? Provoked, the opposing martial artist gripped his spear tight, preparing to strike. He leaped into the air, launching a devastating attack. Then you guys will be the first team to get eliminated. That's not all, he roared arrogantly. The strong one isn't the city, it's me, Line Gwyn, the one destined to become the Spear King of this city. Seeing the opponent attack MacLoy and Lubak took a defensive stance brimming with killing intent. Come on then, let's see what you've got. Trando smirked, his voice dropping an octave as he said, Leave it to me. A brilliant blue aura erupted behind him as Trando spoke firmly to his two teammates. I'm enough on my own. All three members of the Khan City team swung their spears and leaped down, roaring, You cocky little brat! A flash of sword light streaked across, and spectacularly blocking the three thrusting spears. Lin Guian's eyes bulged in shock. What, you blocked our direct attack with just one sword without losing any ground? His hands trembled as he exerted force, struggling to ask, Everyone's vitality level is at 5. How can you be this strong? Trando calmly analyzed his opponent's strength. This guy, Lin Guian, his martial arts level must be at the peak of rank 1. No wonder he's so arrogant. But the two teammates with him are far weaker. Trando's eyes suddenly flashed with a dangerous blue light. He instantly channeled his energy, unleashing peak mental power assisted by a level 9 spiritual force. The sudden spike in mental pressure made Lin Guian gasp. What? Trando had already leaped into the air. Swinging his sword in a powerful, perfect circle, Trando activated his signature move, the flowing light sword technique, first form drawing a line to imprison. The surging power knocked Lin Guian's two teammates flying. They hit the ground and were knocked unconscious. Trando landed lightly and steadily. Dust billowed around them as Lin Guian fell to his knees, sweat streaming down his face. He screamed in frustration, Damn it! How is his sword heavier than my spear? He gritted his teeth, staring desperately at his opponent. Just how much terrifying power does this monster possess? Suddenly the spear wielder Lin Guian, drenched in sweat, braced his weapon with both hands, struggling to retreat against the suffocating pressure radiating from Trando's hulking silhouette. With a cold, calculating gaze, Trando smirked, ordering himself to take down the strongest one first. Preparing to unleash the flowing light sword technique again, he nonchalantly used one finger to flick the blade of his gleaming sword as if strumming a musical instrument. The image of his teacher Lambok flashed through his mind with firm praise for an incredibly powerful sword strike. At that moment, Lin Guian, bitter and fueled by pride, strained to stand up, roaring defiantly, Teacher Lambok, I can still fight. But the bespectacled teacher coldly delivered the harsh truth. Enough, you lost. The fact that he was able to tear your clothes apart proves his attack power has reached level 7 vitality. The teacher adjusted his glasses, explaining in detail. Even if you had blocked that last sword strike, you wouldn't have been able to stop the second one. Let's go. Behind his thick lenses, the teacher secretly admired the boy's talent. It was even superior to Lin Guian's. He would surely become a formidable force in the future. Meanwhile, a red-haired guy hiding behind a tree smirked mysteriously before turning to leave. I'm heading out. Lam Van, I'm really looking forward to seeing your performance in the finals. Back in reality, Lin Guian, though battered, still held his head high and asked his opponent, Tell me your name. I rarely submit to anyone, but you are one of them. Trando. Turning back, Trando offered a cocky smile and dropped a cool line. The winner of the day after tomorrow will be me. The entire badass scene was immediately broadcast live. On the big screen in the auditorium of High School No. 1 in High City on the observation deck, Principal Limok finally had his moment to shine, patting his colleague on the shoulder as he turned pale. Laughing it up, huh? You really think you've got this in the bag, old man? Thanks for the heads up. Tell me what time you want to fly back tonight so I can book the tickets, ha? A government official sitting nearby stroked his chin and sighed. Old Chu, I'm truly surprised that this year, there are so many students who have achieved perfect rank 1 martial arts skills, including this kid from the Lung City team that makes 4 already. But another man immediately corrected him. You're wrong, Mayor, it's still only 3. Suddenly, the crowd of spectators started buzzing in confusion. Wait, what? Has this Lung City team already collected 10 enough for 2 badges? Someone else asked in bewilderment. Why are they moving toward the moon marker, which represents the exit, when they only have 1 badge? They're going to get disqualified right on the spot. The scene shifts back to the dense forest known as the Spirit Realm, the forest of mad wolves. The guy in the beanie Lu back stared with wide eyes following Trando and blurted out in a panic, "What you're planning to take?" "Is that guy Wu-Tang down right here and now?" Trando remained calm as he walked, explaining, "Honestly, with my strength, getting 2 badges is a walk in the park." His 2 teammates nodded in agreement. "True, that's fair." Trando's gaze suddenly turned sharp and ambitious. "But what I want is to win the championship." He spoke honestly. "For me or for Wu-Tang, taking first place is just about fame. I don't care about fame, but I really need that 1 million yuan in prize money to survive." Hearing this, the guy in the beanie was left stunned, completely speechless. Holding up 3 fingers, Trando carefully broke down the situation. "Let me explain the landscape for you guys. The heavy hitters this time are Chu Tio-ko and Cook Trong. Thien from the High City team, along with Wu-Tang from the Lu City team." The images of the 3 top-tier masters flashed through Trando's mind. He concluded the strategy: the High City team has 2 powerful contenders. We can't take them both down. But if we ambush Wu-Tang right now, our chances of winning will be much higher. Lubac scratched his chin, questioning. "But wouldn't that just be helping the High City team get rid of a major enemy?" Trando smiled and shook his head. "You're wrong, Lubac. If I don't take out Wu-Tang right here, I might not even make it into the top 3. With the flair of a master chess player, Trando continued his argument. "Technically, all 4 of us could make it to the second round. But members of the same team won't face each other in this round." The image of a brilliant championship trophy appeared in his mind. He asked the killing question. "The host team this time is High City. Do you think they wouldn't purposely rig the brackets to make me fight Wu-Tang? All to pave a smooth road for the High City members to advance." His eyes narrowed, radiating a deep, unpredictable intensity. He analyzed the grim scenario for the second round. Even if I or Wu-Tang win, that person would still have to face 2 members of the High City team back-to-back in the 3rd round. Tell me, do you think I can beat 3 people with perfect rank 1 skills in just 2 days? Lubac clapped his hands together, suddenly enlightened. "No wonder you're so desperate to get rid of Wu-Tang here." While the guy with the spiky hair broke out in a cold sweat, grumbling, "This is no different from rigging the system. It's so dark." Realizing the risk, Trando turned back with an apologetic smile. "But this is a bit unfair to you guys. I can't guarantee 100% that I'll beat Wu-Tang. If we fail, the whole team gets disqualified from the very first round." The beanie guy immediately waved his hand, showing he didn't care. "We know exactly where our limits are. We're just here to gain experience." Then he asked, "But do you have a way to find Wu-Tang? How are you going to track him down?" The 3 walked leisurely through the forest. Trando confidently reasoned, "With his arrogant personality and his power, he'll definitely crawl to the place with the most badge markers to snatch them up. Just you wait." He held up a finger with a bright smile, mapping out the perfect plan. "And all we need to do is intercept him on the path leading to the exit where the badge density is highest." And so the group immediately moved toward a mist-covered ridge. Ambushing from the top of the slope, Trando stood tall on a large rock, his gaze sweeping over the scene below. Below the cliff, a giant wolf monster glowing with purple light was aggressively confronting a girl and 2 unlucky students. Trando's eyes widened intently, following the intense battle below. As he clearly saw the beast's appearance, he was shocked to recognize the familiar creature. The Bibi wolf, isn't this the monster from the Crystal Realm? Why would it appear here? The Encyclopedia of Alien Races had recorded every monster humanity had ever known, but monsters from the Crystal Realm were completely absent from the books. His expression darkened and sweat began to bead on his forehead as a terrifying hypothesis flashed through his mind. Could it be that all the monsters in the Crystal Realm originate from this spirit realm? Cutting through his tense line of thought, the girl below, clutching 5 red ribbons, looked up in rage at a dark shadow perched on the cliff edge and cursed, "Damn it! This is all because of that guy Wu-Tang." Immediately, the Bibi wolf let out a maddening roar, launching its razor-sharp red claws straight at the poor girl to tear her apart. Back in the forest, the boy shouted in horror, "Tiumai, run!" As the monster's pitch-black claws were about to descend onto the girl's head, suddenly a streak of brilliant green sword energy came down from above, slicing the claws apart. It sent the girl stumbling to the ground, where she gasped in amazement, "Teacher!" The imposing silhouette of a student wielding a sword appeared on the cliff like a true savior. Having just intervened, Trando smirked confidently and asked, I just heard the name Wu-Tang. Do you guys know where he is? The male student supporting his friend replied tearfully, After we reached the first marker, we found it was a fake. On the way to the second point, we accidentally ran into Wu-Tang. He was fighting off 10 monsters just like these, he added in a desperate tone. We were going to follow the teacher's advice and retreat if we ran into him, but out of nowhere, these monsters locked onto us and chased us all the way here. Hearing this, Trando immediately zeroed in on the core issue. Where is their fighting location? The student hurriedly pointed toward the dense, misty forest in the distance. Over there. Trando narrowed his eyes in thought. I remember there aren't any badge markers in that direction. What the hell is Wu-Tang doing over there? Sensing something was off, he turned around and grabbed his sword, calculating the implications. There's definitely something fishy going on. But if that's true, Wu-Tang's stamina must be drained by now. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Without hesitation, he waved his hand, signaling his two teammates hiding in the bushes. Let's move. While running for his life, his teammate Lubach said excitedly, We're so lucky today. Everything's going our way. Hey, Tran, do you have a battle plan yet? The crew-cut teammate also pointed to himself, obediently waiting for orders. Trando's gaze sharpened. Listen up, once we arrive, don't do anything reckless. For some reason, I've got a bad feeling about this. From now on, you two must follow my orders to the letter. His teammates nodded obediently and replied in unison, Understood. The three figures darted through the forest, weaving deep into the mist. But lurking in the shadows, a pair of blood-red, bloodthirsty wolf eyes were watching them intently. They emerged from the darkness of the mad wolf forest. One quick step, then a sudden ground-tearing halt. The group stopped to observe, and the teammate in the beanie looked utterly confused. Did we take a wrong turn or what? They'd been running for ages and still couldn't see a trace of Wu-Tang. The three stood their eyes scanning the gloomy, eerily quiet forest. Suddenly, Trando broke out in a cold sweat. He realized the bitter truth. We've been played. Behind him, his teammate shouted in a panic, dripping with sweat. Trando, what on earth are those things? As massive looming shadows appeared, Trando spun around, grinding his teeth. He analyzed the situation. What those three said was only half true. They did see Wu-Tang, but his location is definitely not on this path. I bet they saw our badges and intentionally pointed us this way to use the wolf pack to kill us, then come back to loot our bodies for the badges. Facing the pack of ferocious beasts, the two teammates stood back-to-back, tense. There are 20 of them. It's a wolf den. What a sinister trap to use us as bait. Trando drew his sword coldly, calculating his exit strategy. Fewer than the 10 in the crystal chamber, but their vitality is definitely higher. I must not lose any blood like I did when saving those three. I noticed these wolves go berserk when they see blood. They primarily attack with the sharp thorns on the backs of their hands. Pay close attention to their claws. With that, he stomped the ground and surged forward, slashing his sword to release a brilliant blue wave of spiritual energy that tore through the air. At the same time, the audience in the observation tower erupted in a buzz of gossip. The Luong City team is charging straight in. To the wolf den, they must have just charged in blindly without looking at the map. Unbelievable, they just won one match and are already about to be eliminated. They're definitely going to lose. Facing 20 native wolves, only Senior Chu from the High City team would have the strength to fight them off. Principal Lai Mok frowned worriedly, exclaiming, What kind of crazy situation is this? Is the Trandu group going to be eliminated in the very first round? The Khan City principal next to him also broke into a cold sweat and sighed. It looks like we'll be packing our bags and heading home together tonight. A stoic official clasped his hands and asked, These three kids just bumped into a mid-sized wolf den. Principal Chu, what do you think their survival rate is? Principal Chu half closed his eyes and coldly dropped a bombshell. Not even 10%. The official was stunned. Is it that low? Principal Chu opened his eyes wide, looking at the screen, and explained firmly, This first badge-grabbing battle was organized specifically to let these arrogant geniuses get a taste of harsh reality. Our city looks prosperous and comfortable on the surface, but out there monsters are rampant and everything has been completely devastated. We must force these students who are destined to become warriors to face this brutal reality. However, the bearded official analyzed, But as long as they don't get close to the wolf dens, they can completely avoid these. As magical beasts, right? No, the badges are hidden behind the wolf dens. They look safe, but if the students don't use their heads and just blindly follow the map's instructions, they will definitely run straight into the wolf dens. Hearing this, the official with the slicked-back hair sitting next to him replied, "Anyway, running into BB wolves isn't necessarily a bad thing. If they only meet a few, the students have more than enough power to protect themselves. You can only say, the Luong City team is just too unlucky to fall into a mid-sized wolf den with 20 of them waiting." Switching to the King's Lounge, the two principals were sitting comfortably. One asked, "So that's how it is. I wonder if our High City team will make it through smoothly." The other smiled confidently and waved his hand. "Don't worry, the High City team has my daughter Chu Tiu Ko and your son Kuk Trong Thin. Even if they run into a large wolf den, there's no way it can stop them." Back at the death trap, Tran Do exuded a soaring blue aura, dismissively muttering, "Too weak to take one hit from me." He stood proudly with his sword amidst the dark circle of wolves. His back was as solid as an unshakable mountain. He keenly assessed the situation in his mind. "Good. I've drawn most of the attacks. As long as these BB wolves don't go into a frenzy, those two will definitely be able to hold out behind me." His spiky-haired teammate Mac Loy screamed in panic as a giant monster raised its claws and lunged. Trando didn't hesitate. Lu Bak slashed out with a sharp blade of air, shouting urgently, "Mac Loy, we have to take these things out fast." To keep fighting, Trando surged forward, gritting his teeth as he barked out orders, "You take 3, I'll take 3. At that very moment, standing at the center of the encirclement, Trando let out a fierce, courageous roar, unleashing his defensive technique. Earthly Prison. He leaped high into the air, using the momentum to spin and evade the beast's lethal pounce with incredible fluidity. From midair, he pointed his sword downward and dived like a falling star. Streamlight sword technique, third form breeze beneath the forest. But he didn't stop there. A brilliant light flashed in his eyes as he shifted stances to press the attack, fourth form. A sweeping wave of blue sword energy scoured the monsters. Streamlight sword technique, fourth form Azure Dragon's Strike. He smirked with confidence. He had slaughtered countless of these in the crystal dimension. Their movement patterns and pack tactics were like second nature to him. However, facing their overwhelming numbers and the sheer physical power of the beasts, Trando had to grit his teeth in frustration. Damn it! On the other side, Mac Loy was struggling to parry the relentless clawing and biting gripped by self-reproach. Damn it, I never thought a top-ranked guy like me would end up being a burden to the whole team. As he swung his sword, Trando glanced over to analyze the BB wolves. These have a vitality level of at least 5, and the alpha is pushing 6.5. He sidestepped a lethal swipe, cold sweat beading on his forehead as he calculated. Even though I can burst with strength equal to vitality level 7, if they don't leave an opening, I don't have a chance to strike. Lu Bak was struggling just to hold off 3 wolves. He couldn't support Mac Loy at all anymore. Trando's face was drenched in sweat. His nerves pulled tight as he muttered, "Just a little more. My power and speed are still lacking. I need to improve by just 1%. If my sword were a little faster, maybe we'd have a path to escape." Suddenly, a wolf opened its foul crimson maw, letting out a deafening roar that tore through the mist. Its razor-sharp claws swung out, lunging straight at its prey like a phantom of death. The sound of metal clashing against claws rang out sharply. Countless streaks of blue light flashed wildly in the intense battle. Trando bit his lips. Enduring the pressure, he gave himself an ultimatum. 2 minutes. We have to reduce the number of BB wolves surrounding us to under 10, or there's no chance. No chance of escaping. In that split second, a thought ignited in his mind. Faster, my sword has to be faster, faster. His blade swung, creating sharp, decisive arcs of light that cut through every obstacle in his path. Trando spun gracefully, his footwork agile and fluid. He unleashed unstoppable lightning-fast strikes. A thrilled smile curled his lips as he shouted in excitement, "Yes, this is the feeling. As long as I can maintain this balance, we'll definitely have a chance to turn this around." But the joy was short-lived as Mac Loy's panicked voice brought grim news. "It's bad. Trando Lu Bak's arm has been slashed." Stuck between 2 massive dark shadows of the beasts, Mac Loy clutched his bleeding arm, his whole body trembling in despair. Lu Bak bowed his head, gritting his teeth to force out an apologetic, helpless, "Sorry." Mac Loy yelled in a panic, urging his teammate, "They're about to enter a berserk state. You two have to run now." Hearing this, the beanie-wearing Lu Bak gritted his teeth. his expression filled with helplessness and reluctance as he stammered, but before he could finish, fiery red claws dripping with murderous intent descended from above toward Lu Bak. With sharp survival instincts, he strained, twisting his body to leap backward and dodge the lethal blow from the snarling beast. A massive bee-by wolf missed its mark, brushing past the top of Lu Bak's head like a brutal gale. Standing tall with sword in hand, Trando said coldly and decisively, "I'll stay to cover the rear. Teacher Lang is hiding in the shadows to protect us so I won't die. This is the only way for us to have a chance to make it to the next round." Knowing they couldn't linger, McLoy gritted his teeth, grabbed Lu Bak and shoved him away, shouting, "Run! If we stay, we'll only be a burden to him. Go!" Leaving Trandu alone to face the wolf pack, he silently analyzed the enemy's strengths and weaknesses. In their berserk state, the BB wolves would temporarily see a surge in speed and power. However, in return, they would lose their intelligence and attack by pure instinct, targeting the closest living creature in their line of sight. He offered a confident smile, glowing with blue spirit energy. He muttered excitedly, "I've faced 30 berserk BB wolves before in the crystal dimension, haven't I? This is the perfect chance to practice the old lessons." Immediately, the alpha bye-bye wolf with blood-red eyes and a sinewy frame lumbered forward, radiating the terrifying pressure of a bloodthirsty predator. Before its prey could even blink, the beast pounced, raking its deadly claws straight toward Trando. Contrary to his small stature, Trando stood his ground, raising his sword to deflect and block the monster's massive, heavy attack. In a truly spectacular move, he felt the terrifying recoil and winced sweat beading as he exclaimed in shock, "This strength! Is this vitality level 7? At the same time, the large screen at the High City #1 high school auditorium was broadcasting this breathtaking life-or-death confrontation live. The officials sitting in the stands began to comment noisily, "Facing a medium-sized wolf den in this berserk state. Even a first-class martial artist at 99% would surely perish here. It's a pity. I thought I'd see a match between the 4 perfect masters in the second round. If it were Tuco and Cook Trungtien from our High City team clashing here, they would handle these things as easily as pie." A bearded official spoke up, commenting, "This kid is really something. He hasn't been eliminated yet. It's truly impressive. Impressive enough to be a bit strange." His colleague next to him, holding a file, asked, "Strange how I just looked closely at Trando's file. I never expected that he hadn't even leave the city of Luong before arriving at the city of Hai to join this tournament." The bearded official frowned and dismissed that, asking what was so strange about it. Well, martial arts are mostly based on innate talent, aren't they? With a sharp gaze fixed on the screen, he corrected him in a serious tone. "I'm not talking about his martial arts level, but his fighting style." His words full of hidden meaning. The remark left his colleague bewildered, and he turned to ask, "Fighting style, what about it?" The bearded official analyzed firmly. His flowing light sword technique isn't quite perfect yet, which means his martial arts haven't reached the 99% mark. But he can predict the exact direction of an attack without even looking at the screen, he said in awe, watching Trando dance with his blade to block every sharp, lethal claw strike. "This demeanor, it's as if he just paved a bloody path through a pile of corpses on a frontline battlefield." Thus the official's eyes flashed with both admiration and extreme curiosity for this nameless peasant teenager. He continued to marvel, "Ordinary people are completely clueless about the spirit realm, let alone these BB wolves. At first I was convinced Trando had a background in the martial electrode, which is why he had access to secret data on this wolf pack. But I never expected that he is actually just a child from an ordinary family with absolutely no connections or backing whatsoever." Back in the stormy spirit realm, Trando planted his feet firmly to gain momentum and launched himself like a green arrow into the pack of monsters, wildly swinging his sword to create air currents that tore through space mercilessly. Not giving the enemy a chance to recover, Trando shouted his ultimate move, "Clear breeze forest descent." His eyes sparked with cold green electricity, and he muttered calculations while fighting. Except for the strongest pack leader with a life force intensity of level 7, the rest of the small fry range from level 6 to 6.5. Even though there are only a dozen or so, their combined strength, and is even more overbearing than that giant green firefly I struggled to chew through back in the crystal space. As he danced his sword to parry the claws of a lurking wolf, he performed the mighty Thunder War chant technique. However, facing the overwhelming numbers, Trando had to drive his sword deep into an ancient tree as a pivot point to jump high and escape. His face drenched in sweat and under extreme tension, he gritted his teeth and told himself he absolutely had to find the key to breaking through this encirclement. Observing from mid-air, his keen eyes locked onto a wolf hovering at the edge, and he smiled triumphantly. Gotcha! He dove down with wind-tearing speed. He mapped out a clear strategy. He had to launch a surprise preemptive strike to finish off the scavengers waiting on the sidelines first. But reality is rarely so kind. A massive crimson claw suddenly swept across the sky, cutting off his intention. Struggling to land safely among the scattered wolf carcasses, Trando panted exhausted, thinking to himself that a constantly dodging back and forth during the fight had already drained too much of his stamina. Gripping his sword tightly, his eyes flashed with the determination to fight to the death. I must end this quickly. The moment the words left his lips, the furious claws tore through the air again, surrounding the teenager. Unable to withstand the terrifying speed of the exotic beast, Trando had his sleeve ripped open and blood began to trickle. He frowned in frustration. Damn it, my speed can't keep up with them anymore. The recoil from the blow sent his body sliding a long distance across the muddy ground. Just as he stopped, Trando had to tense every muscle and swing his sword to block a devastating strike from the wolf. The Bibi pack leader, which was as big as a building. The scene opened with Trando swinging his sword to block a powerful attack from the claws of a giant Bibi wolf charging at him. The recoil from the collision was so strong that it sent the beast flying backward along with streaks of dazzling light. Our protagonist panted, gritting his teeth in frustration. Damn it, I clearly found its weak point. Just a little bit more. Without hesitation, he used the force to leap high into the air and dove down with a blazing, powerful slash. Just as he landed, Trando grimaced, and the corners of his mouth bled, blood showing that his stamina was running thin. Remembering the warm smiles of his parents and little sister at home, he steeled himself. My sword needs to be faster, stronger, and heavier. I must break through. And with that, the brilliant green sword arcs swung wildly once again. Cutting through the thick, murky fog, the kind and expectant smile of Master Lang Van suddenly appeared in his mind as a massive source of motivation. His eyes burned with the fire of determination, whispering to himself, this is not just a competition, this is the turning point that changes my entire life. Trando bit his lip until blood flowed, determined to fight to the end. His eyes lit up and a deep blue spirit aura roared from the depths of his soul. I absolutely cannot fall here. Carrying an explosive power, he charged straight into the sky, clashing fiercely with the giant wolf rushing toward him. In that moment of life and death, his eyes narrowed as he realized something. The sensation of this strike felt a bit different, but before he could think much, his eyes were met with a series of other BB wolves baring their fangs and claws, waiting to pounce on their prey. A ferocious BB wolf moved in close, raising its sharp claws, preparing to deliver the final blow. In a hidden corner of the forest, the red-haired youth Wu Tang was sitting on the ground. Remembering the past, he sighed heavily. If I hadn't been so easy to trust people, I wouldn't have ended up in this state. Consider this a hard-learned lesson before stepping out into society, but the price is too high. It seems the end is already written. It's time to finish it. Suddenly, Wu Tang jumped, his eyes widening in shock as he blurted out, he actually returned to the battlefield. Trando's back radiated an intimidating aura. He continued to perceive. This sword strike feels completely different. As the blade swings, it creates a swirling vortex of sword energy, sweeping away every obstacle around Trando. He lands with immense power, sheathing his sword with a cool, composed aura. Breathing out a faint, mystical mist of internal energy, he calmly concludes that the blade's trajectory follows the flow of the wind perfectly. It has truly become stronger. His sturdy hand slowly slides the hilt into the scabbard, and he strolls away leisurely while the system announces honors for the candidate Trando from Lu Kuang. His sword technique has leveled up from 98% of level 1 to 99%, while the big screen in the hall shows a shot of his victorious back. The heroic figure of the boy from Luang City makes Principal Cao Diem of Khan City widen his eyes in deep shock. Did his student Trando actually break through his martial arts limits right now? His martial arts level is now on par with our students. Both have reached 99% of level 1. The gray-haired official says, stroking his chin as he analyzes. Logically speaking, the intensity of a pack of medium-sized wolves is more than enough to exhaust a 99% level 1 student and force them to lose. The man in the black suit continues, his expression extremely serious. But the power of Trando's Lu Kuang sword technique seems a bit too immense. It doesn't look like the strength and speed of a typical 99% level 1, the bearded official immediately adds. It's boosted by mental energy. Furthermore, I suspect this boy's mental energy might be nearing the 10th level, he says, shocking the person next to him. Level 10. This kid, Trando, is top tier. Indeed, the boy has the potential to become a heaven-flying martial artist. However, the gray-haired official keeps his perspective realistic. Possessing this much mental energy at the novice stage is truly extravagant. Once he hits level 10, there will be a qualitative shift, and his soul will transform into a martial soul, but it's not guaranteed he will reach level 15. Moreover, achieving 100% in level 1 martial arts is one of the 3 prerequisites to becoming a heaven-flying martial artist, and that is an extremely high hurdle. Principal Lai Mok sits comfortably in his chair, laughing proudly. Ha ha ha! You're as strict as ever. In my eyes, Trando is already an incredibly excellent student. Outside the hall, the crowd begins to buzz with gossip. Look, why? Is the Mat City team who were just saved by the Luong City team running to this spot? Another person with a sharp eye criticizes them. I was just following the Luong City team. It was the Mat City team who gave them those directions. The crowd gasps in realization. Damn! No wonder the Luong City team just walked straight into the wolf den. Meanwhile, in the forest, the girl from the Mat City team breaks out in a cold sweat. She nervously asks their scheming team leader, Trong Soai, "Are you sure we'll manage to get the badges from the Luong City team without any trouble?" The team leader, Trong Soai, smirks sinisterly, waving his hand confidently to reassure her. Just relax. No matter how strong they are, they can't deal with that many wolves. When the time comes, the backup teachers will definitely have to intervene and wipe out the monsters to save the students. He smugly analyzes the rules. The intervention of a team leader means automatic disqualification, and according to the rules, those disqualified must leave their badges right on the spot. His eyes flash with extreme greed, and his wide grin shows his triumph. The badges don't have tracking devices, and there are no other teams or wolves left around here. He boastfully flips the coin in his hand, asserting firmly, "Only we are the ones who are about to scoop up both of those badges." Finally, the trio of villains reaches their destination. Trong Soai shouts excitedly, "We've arrived!" Seeing the wolf carcasses strewn across the pool of blood, his sycophantic sidekick praises him repeatedly. True to form, Trong Soai, your tactical mind is just on another level. You predicted everything like a god. However, the smile on Trong Soai's face suddenly stiffens. His pupils contract from shock, and he starts sweating profusely. The sidekick is still innocently scratching his cheek, muttering, "I feel like something's wrong." Then he innocently points forward. The badges are over there. Right before their eyes lies a massive pitch-black wolf carcass, and sitting prominently on its back is a glowing light blue badge. A close-up shows the badge shining silently on the blood-soaked fur, like a mockery of their dirty scheme as they sneak through the battlefield littered with corpses. The sidekick whispers in awe, "The backup teachers for the Luong City team are really top-notch. They actually killed all these monsters." The mushroom-headed guy still frowns in confusion, holding his stomach while analyzing. It definitely looks like a massive battle took place here, but I have this gut feeling that we missed something important. Instantly, Trong Soai's brain lights up. His face turns pale with extreme fear as he realizes the horrifying truth. He turns around. He screams at the top of his lungs, "Alarm run, guys! The Luong City team wasn't disqualified at all. This badge is a trap." The younger guy still stands there, blankly refusing to believe it. He touches the wolf carcass, trying to hold on to a glimmer of hope. How could that be? These wolves are all dead. Could that guy Trando have slaughtered them all by himself? Before he can finish, a blinding green sword energy tears through the air, illuminating the cold figure of Trando stepping out of the mist while the others tremble in shock. Trando suddenly speaks, dropping a devastating line. "Actually, it's true. I killed them all by myself." He walks out of the dense bushes with his 2 teammates completely unharmed. Trando's demeanor is like a grim reaper returning from hell. With eyes as sharp as razors, he smirks and asks the enemies, "How did you guys know we hadn't been disqualified yet?" The mushroom-headed guy understands everything now. His face turns ghost white as he stammers, Because of the wounds, all backup teachers are forbidden from carrying weapons." He gulps audibly. "A team leader with empty hands couldn't possibly..." "Chop these monsters in half." The camera pans over the bisected wolf carcass with a clean-cut wound, a powerful testament to the fearsome strength of the Lu Kuang sword. Hearing that, an image of Master Lang skillfully dancing with his nunchucks flashes through Trando's mind. He thinks to himself, Master Lang only uses different types of weapons to spar with everyone during martial arts class. He tightens his face, self-reflecting sarcastically. Not only do I still not know what weapon he actually uses, but I also completely overlooked this important detail. From now on, I have to be more careful. Ignoring that, Trando picked up the decoy badge, circling back to the main point for the guys from the Honey City. Back to my original question, where is Wu Tang? He snapped. He tossed the badge straight at Truong Soai, who caught it in shock and declared with total arrogance, I'm not interested in these badges. I just want to fight with Wu Tang, that's all. Truong Soai snatched the badge, sweat pouring down his face as he realized the massive gap in their levels. So that's it. It seems Trando's goal for the 100 Hegemons tournament in this city is simply to challenge Wu Tang. The mushroom-haired guy obediently took out his map device and confessed honestly, we met Wu Tang in the opposite direction. Their target must have been the star marker behind us, but they ran into a pack of wolves on the way. Trando skimmed the holographic 3D map, lost in thought. Ran into wolves on the way, huh? Looks like the straight-line navigation system provided by the organizers is busted. Finally, our protagonist settled on the situation, turning his eyes toward the real target. He's probably not where he started by now, but he's definitely still lurking around that star marker. Before that schemer Trong Soai could even process what was happening, he jolted in terror, feeling a freezing cold blade right against his neck. Trando stood there calmly behind him, pressing the sword against all three traitors, coldly ordering, leave the badges and get lost. Trong Soai, drenched in sweat, turned back, gritting his teeth in fury. Damn it! You want us to— The only response was Trando's cold, emotionless gaze, as if to say, hand them over or take a beating. He slowly turned his back and started walking away. He didn't forget to throw in a sarcastic jab, I'm just returning the favor for your kindness in giving us directions earlier. Truong Soai could only scream in frustration, You brat! Just then, a powerful kick slammed down from above, sending dirt and rocks flying, accompanied by a booming shout from a bald, middle-aged man, You cocky little brat! The fat guy pointed his finger straight at Trando, scolding him. To go back on your word like that. You really have no martial arts ethics. Watching this sudden arrival, McLoy and Lou Back stood in the bushes, bewildered and wondering, where did this freak come from? Trando turned his head and shot back with a smirk. Are you really lecturing others about martial arts ethics? This made McLoy instantly sigh in relief, realizing, oh, it's just the security captain from the Honey City team, nothing to worry about. Trando faced the fat man calmly and replied nonchalantly, Sir, in this world we call that a dirty trick. But the biggest surprise appeared right before their eyes, two badges glowing with a bright blue light marked with the characters Hi and Vu. McLoy's eyes went wide and he slapped his hands together triumphantly. No wonder they set a trap to ambush us, and just like that, we accidentally harvested both badges. Afterward, Trando stared at the device in his hand, lost in thought. Lubak suddenly asked with concern, But with your current state, are you still planning to go challenge Wu Tang for real? Lubak furrowed his brow and asked again to be sure, Trando, with your current stamina, you still want to face off against Wu Tang? Trando sighed softly and honestly shook his head. I'm not going anywhere. My stamina and mental energy have been drained way too much. Not to mention facing a top-tier expert like Wu Tang right now. Even someone at 89% of the first grade would be enough to make the fight incredibly difficult. He squinted calculatingly. Confirming Wu Tang's location with those three earlier was actually just to stay proactive. I was just trying to avoid the perfect tier experts. I just didn't expect our luck to be this good, suddenly gathering all the badges so early. In the distance, the three members of the Honey City team were cowering, helping each other limp away in a panic through the thick mist. Trando checked the positioning map on his watch and shouted excitedly, Now let's head straight to the moon marker to turn in the badges and wrap up the first round of the tournament. He pointed his finger at the virtual screen. Charting a new route. Follow the path I'm pointing at right here. His two teammates leaned in to look. Lubak asked, puzzled, Why do we have to go this way? McLoy explained immediately, Right, we're going to have to take a detour in this direction. Lubak suddenly remembered something, scratching his head and analyzing, I've felt like something was off. Since the beginning, the rule for collecting badges is way too easy. The organizers said those locations were safe. I thought they were lying to us the whole time. He pointed and added, Wu-Tang's target was supposed to be the star marker behind us, but he ran into magic beast wolves on the way. Trando's face turned serious as he analyzed further. But when Trong So-ai mentioned on the way earlier, didn't you guys notice something very interesting? McLoy blinked confused and asked, What do you mean? Lu Bak smacked his hand in realization and guessed in a low voice, The danger of collecting the badges isn't at the destination at all, it's on the journey there. Trando nodded in agreement, staring intently at the map. This whole crazy wolf forest was designed that way. If you want to dodge the wolf dens, choosing a route with 2 star markers, close to each other is the most reliable way. But doing that increases the chance of bumping into other teams. The screen displayed a simulation of markers tucked right in the middle of fierce wolf packs. Trando concluded, This is a meticulously designed competition. Unless teams have real strength or insane godlike luck, there's no way they'll make it. To the moon marker, even if they manage to scrape together 2 badges. He narrowed his eyes at the path ahead, sternly reminding himself, So, until we completely pass this test, we absolutely cannot let our guard down. Lu Bak gulped hard, his face tense, and nodded. I understand. McLoy broke into a cold sweat and hurriedly chimed in, Exactly. A ghostly skeletal mist enshrouded the team's hurried footsteps as they dashed across the damp ground toward the exit until a sturdy hand gently parted the thick, thorny bushes blocking their path deep in the woods. Scouting for a way through, just as he was slipping through, Trando suddenly froze in his tracks when he saw a figure standing precariously beneath a cliff, and right at that moment, a voice erupted from below. It was a male student from another team cursing in utter helplessness. Damn it! Standing tall directly across from him was a blonde-haired boy carrying a massive wooden chest, leaving the defeated boy sobbing, never imagining he would be unlucky enough to run into the High City team, a squad known to possess 1 or 2 perfect-tier experts. Trandu observed silently from above, listening to the miserable groans echoing back. We were so close to the finish line, too. Suddenly, the blonde student arched an eyebrow, his eyes slowly opening to gaze straight toward the thicket, muttering, a perfect tier grade 1, huh? Exposed. Trando broke into a cold sweat, his eyes narrowing in tension as he thought to himself, he doesn't just radiate an incredibly powerful sword intent, he can actually sense my strength. So he must be Cook Trong Thien, the perfect tier grade 1 expert from High City. Without saying another word, Cook Trong Thien slammed his wooden chest onto the ground, creating a violent shockwave. The chest burst open and countless sharp swords soared outward like a brilliant and formidable sword formation. Realizing they were locked onto as targets, Trando and his 2 teammates immediately took up a defensive stance, looking grim. Bracing themselves to face the strongest opponent they had encountered since the start of the tournament, they were interrupted before the opponent could even draw his sword, as Chu Tio-ko coldly spoke up. Stop it, Cook Trong Thien! She stepped up beside the blonde boy, turning her gaze toward Trando and explaining, Look at the bloodstains on him. He must have just fought a fierce battle against the BB wolves. And if we fight him now, it won't be a fair victory at all. Then she turned her head and flashed a radiant, confident smile. I never expected there to be another perfect tier grade 1 expert besides Wu-Tang. But whether it's you or Wu-Tang, I am going to wipe both of you out in the next 2 rounds of the competition. With an arrogant aura of blue spiritual energy bursting around her, Chu Tio-ko declared firmly, The High City team has been the champion for 9 years in a row, and there is absolutely no room for error in our goal to win our 10th consecutive championship. Watching their backs as they walked away, Lu Bak couldn't help but exclaim in awe, I never imagined that this Chu Tio-ko actually had the bearing of a great hero. Trando frowned, narrowing his eyes in skepticism, questioning himself. The bearing of a great hero, huh? Then memories of the time she utterly crushed him with dirty underhanded tactics in the virtual combat room came flooding back, making him break into a cold sweat as he muttered, that girl who specializes in using nuclear bombs and ambush tactics has the bearing of a great hero. That's hilarious. On the other side, Cook Trong Thien carried his sword chest, teasing his friend as they walked. I never dreamed you'd be capable of saying something so noble like winning without honor is nothing to be proud of. He added a jab that hit the nail on the head, taking advantage of an opponent when they're at their weakest, and never giving them a chance to breathe. Now that is your real style, isn't it? Being called out, Chu Tio-ko immediately blushed in embarrassment, darted a glance at the drone hovering above, and snapped, We're being live-streamed, man! I have a reputation to maintain too? Night fell quickly. Brilliant neon lights illuminated the sign of a luxury hotel in High City. In a cozy room, Trando lay back on the bed, relaxing his neck. He let out a breath of relief. Finally, I've finished my daily mental power training using the Void Immortal Visualization technique. He scrolled through the updated leaderboard on his wearable device and did the math today. There were 50 teams in total, including his own with 150 students. We've passed the first round of the badge-stealing battle. Looks like I'll need to take down about 4 more opponents tomorrow to reach the third round. Resting his arm on his forehead, he contemplated deep in thought. My current mental power is at level 9. If I can just clear the 7th wave of monsters in the crystal space, I can boost my mental power to level 10. Reaching level 10 will trigger a qualitative change. His eyes lit up with a determined spark, and he thought confidently, that's it. If I really reach level 10 mental power, that first-place spot is definitely mine. Meanwhile, in the large arena, the audience kept chattering excitedly. About that kid's performance, don't be so sure. Don't forget about Trando from Luong City, who cleared out a medium-sized wolf den all by himself. The person next to him immediately countered, there's still Cook Trong Thien too, the one who hasn't even bothered to make a move since the start of the tournament. Trando watched the live screen of the next match, narrowed his eyes slightly, and muttered, Chu-Tiu-Ko and Musashi. Huh, interesting. The organizer's announcement boomed across the arena. As Chu-Tiu-Ko stepped out with her weapon, the vitality levels of both contestants were capped at level 5. Her opponent was a swordsman in traditional martial arts garb, walking slowly onto the stage with an incredibly calm and carefree demeanor. Musashi, the long-haired swordsman, smirked. Smiling defiantly, he said, Chu-Tiu-Ko, I've wanted to fight you for a long, long time. She didn't back down either, offering a proud, provocative smile in response. Is that so? Then feel free to come to High City's #1 high school whenever you want. I'm always ready to welcome you. Musashi slowly drew his sword from its sheath, his eyes burning with intensity as he declared, I want to fight someone who carries the pressure of a 10-match winning streak. Someone forced to go all out. Everyone says you're the best in the world, or among our peers, but I don't believe it. Chu-Tiu-Ko immediately channeled her energy streaks of purple spiritual aura bursting brilliantly around her body along with a firm declaration, I suggest you start believing. The duel erupted instantly. The two lunged at each other at terrifying speeds, creating whistling slashes that cut through the air. Chu-Tiu-Ko skillfully tilted her body. She swung her weapon to block the opponent's powerful downward strike. The massive clash of power created a brilliant energy explosion with blue and pink light intertwining fiercely. The audience below stared in amazement at the screen displaying their martial arts skill metrics both at 90% and cheered, Look, the screen is... showing their live martial arts skill metrics. A student gasped, puzzled. How can it display martial arts skill levels live like that? The friend next to him explained in detail. This protective gear has special chips for force sensors. They calculate the skill level based on how the force is applied during actual combat. Refusing to be outdone, Musashi roared, unleashing a massive blue sword aura that slashed straight down as if to split the arena in two. Facing the overwhelming power, rushing toward her, Chu-Tiu-Ko stood calmly observing the trajectory of the attack. Moving like a flash of lightning, she jumped high into the air. She swung her weapon to deflect the opponent's sword, creating a blinding pillar of light that lit up a corner of the sky just as the martial arts skill metric on the big screen jumped to 92%. The swordsman Musashi descended from above with a violent overhead chop, hoping to crush his opponent. But Chu-Tiu-Ko was as quick as a squirrel, nimbly flipping backward to dodge the lethal strike in a spectacular fashion. Missing his target, Musashi hung in midair, but still wore a sinister smile, making Chu-Tiu-Ko feel instinctively on edge. He's not rushing to attack. Even when I'm like this in midair, he's still guarding against me. Keeping her balance while feeling tense and calculating, she kept her sword held tight, not letting her guard down. And he's aiming straight for my defensive hand. If that's the case, the next attack will definitely be... Her blue eyes suddenly narrowed, flashing with a brilliant, decisive light. Immediately, they lunged at each other again, clashing intensely in midair. Weapon clashes created dazzling streams of spiritual energy. On the digital board, their skill metrics suddenly spiked to 99%, making the swordsman shudder in fear. That sword intent is so strong I have to dodge this attack. Knowing he was up against a tough opponent, Musashi quickly pulled another type of weapon from his pack. With lightning speed, he swung his sword, creating a huge sword aura. He deflected his opponent's attack, pushing his martial arts skill metric to 95%. Taking the heavy recoil that made his shoulder bleed, the long-haired swordsman still burst out, laughing madly and excitedly. "You actually forced me to change my trajectory and even wounded my shoulder. You're really strong." Standing under the stands watching the match, Trando scratched his head, muttering in confusion, "That's strange. Why can't I see the basic martial arts skills of those two?" Back on the arena, Chu Tioko smirked, offering a provocative smile. "This is just the beginning." Musashi was completely serious now. He swung two glowing short swords, a deadly pink spiritual aura, readying for a fight to the death. His eyes were as sharp as a predator's, ready to tear his prey apart at any moment. Chu Tioko quickly channeled her internal energy into her two brilliant purple twin blades to engage in battle. The two clashed like lightning bolts, their rapid-fire exchanges sending violent shockwaves of energy through the air. The arena floor cracked under the pressure. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the hallway, Master Langvan's explanation echoed in Trando's memory. "Trando, the reason I didn't tell you about the 1% before was ultimately because your skill level hadn't reached tier 199% yet." Trando, bewildered, asked, "What's so special about that final 1%, Master?" Master Langvan calmly adjusted his glasses. He countered, "Do you think the step after 99% is just 100%? The student was stunned, blurting out, 99.1%, sir." It turned out Master Lang had long understood all the principles, and he slowly explained, "From tier 199% to 100%, this final 1% phase is called total convergence. At that level, you can't even tell what basic martial arts skills your opponent is using, can you? A dagger won't look like a dagger, and a sword won't look like a sword." The master spoke sternly, emphasizing the core point. Total convergence is essentially weapon swapping, using a weapon with completely different properties to execute your basic martial arts skills all over again. Trando had an epiphany as he intently watched the sword strikes on the arena stage. The basic martial arts skill of Musashi is actually the chaotic flying wind technique. The system's virtual dashboard immediately analyzed the long-haired swordsman's moves. "Chaotic flying wind technique, first form chaotic flying wind." Master Langvan nodded firmly, confirming, "Exactly. He used a sword, which is light and flexible, to simulate the four forms of the chaotic flying wind technique, which are inherently heavy. This is the first step." The master continued, explaining further. "Next is the intent. Once you reach this state, your opponent won't be able to tell what your real basic martial arts skill is at all." Trando's eyes widened in astonishment as he looked over at Chu Tioko. It turned out Chu Tioko's basic moves were actually derived from the Saint King staff technique. On the arena stage, smoke erupted brilliantly as the system displayed the text, "Chaotic Flying Wind Technique. Second form Avalokiteshvara's Tears." However, Chu Tioko remained impressively calm, her purple hair whipping in the strong wind as she skillfully dodged her opponent's lightning-fast attacks. Her blue eyes suddenly lit up with triumph as she locked onto her opponent's opening, "Found you." Chu Tioko seized the moment, slipping past the opponent's defense to deliver a decisive strike, taunting him, "You can't really create a real shadow clone with just a single sword, you know." With the twin blades at his throat, the swordsman Musashi could only smirk with begrudging respect. "Impressive." Musashi gritted his teeth, smiling fiercely as he called out loudly, "Next move!" Instantly, he spun around, slashing with a violent, chaotic gale of energy. Chaotic Flying Wind Technique. Second form. Mysterious Winter Triple. Slash. Seeing the lightning-fast attack, Chu Tioko's blue eyes flashed with brilliant, excited light. An opening? But it was a trap. Swift as lightning, the swordsman reached out, grabbed her wrist, and laughed triumphantly. "You fell for it!" Chu Tioko gasped, her eyes wide with shock, having completely failed to anticipate this cunning move. At that same moment, Musashi's skill level on the digital board skyrocketed to a terrifying level, causing the organizers to shriek, 99.9%. He's almost hit the absolute limit. After a massive collision, dust billowed up, covering the entire stage. The loudspeaker announced, "It looks like someone is still standing firm on the arena floor." The students in the stands shifted restlessly, shouting in confusion, "What's going on? What happened?" Then a panicked scream followed. "Has Chu Tioko been defeated?" It turned out the replay screen was showing the breathtaking scene from moments ago. Musashi grabbing his opponent's hand, then swinging his sword for a brutal finishing blow. The swordsman's face was twisted in a crazed, triumphant smile. He roared with self-satisfaction, "The title of world champion among our peers from now on is mine." Watching the dramatic recreation, Trando broke into a cold sweat, muttering, "Such powerful intensity. Given my current strength, it's lucky I didn't run into him yesterday." Back in reality, amidst the dust, Chu Tiuko used every ounce of her strength, channeling brilliant energy into her twin blades. She leaned back, shouting the name of her secret technique, Saint King Staff Technique, Fourth Form Flood of the Heavenly Army. A massive tsunami of deep blue spiritual energy suddenly surged, engulfing the entire stage with world-destroying power. The spectators below stood with their mouths wide open in extreme shock. They shouted in unison, "What?" Amidst the brilliant, swirling spiritual water, Chu Tiuko stood tall with an indescribably cool demeanor. The virtual dashboard displayed the dazzling result Tier 1. Limit 100%. The announcer's voice trembled as he introduced her. Reaching the Tier 1 limit is one of the 3 greatest barriers to evolving into a heavenly martial artist. And yet she has reached that realm at age 17. The only person to have done this. Before age 18 is Wagwa Toras, the principal of one of the 8 most prestigious schools. By now, Musashi was tattered, stabbing his sword into the ground and collapsing in defeat. "Damn it, you win." Witnessing that swift ending, Trando stood below the stage, scratching his head and lamenting pragmatically, "If you guys were going to fight this hard, and why not just go all out and fight to the death? That way I might have been able to scavenge some loot." In the VIP room, the bearded mayor laughed, stroking his chin in admiration. "No wonder you said there were 3 perfect masters earlier. So your daughter has already reached the limit. You kept that well hidden." Principal Lai Mok smiled proudly and replied, "She only had her breakthrough last week. Even the team captain couldn't have known that this guy would nod and agree, calling her a championship-level talent and showing off her true strength this early would have a huge impact on the fighting spirit of the other competitors." The mayor gave a sinister laugh and added that fighting spirit is crucial to a student's growth, while in another corner, 2 talent scouts in suits were whispering to each other. "This Chu Xiaogu is truly exceptional." The person next to him nodded indeed. "But her father is a 3-star deacon of the Polar Martial Arts Hall, so it's highly likely she'll just choose the Black Dragon Martial Arts University." Chu Xiaogu strolled off the arena amidst the admiration of thousands, while the 2 scouts continued flipping through documents saying regretfully, "Wu-Tang isn't bad either. It's a pity he's already been early admitted to the Heaven Peak Martial Arts University." The other sighed. "Our Kirin Martial Arts University is still 1 step behind. I wonder if there are any other good seeds left." Suddenly their gazes rested on Trando's stern face. The man said in a low, firm voice, "We only need geniuses." The bracket for the next round flashed brilliantly on the screen. For the next duel, that guy Lu Bo was sitting in the waiting area, yawning and muttering in boredom. "How dull. I'm about to fall asleep. After watching the peak match between Chu Xiaogu and Wu-Tang, I can't even stand watching these newbies fight it out anymore." The competition board displayed a glowing line. Liang City Team Trando versus Wang City Team 9th Master. The students below immediately cheered wildly. "Look, that's Trando. He's the one who cleared out the wolf den all by himself." Finally, a real match. Trando stepped onto the arena calmly, his demeanor as still as a tranquil lake. The swordsman 9th Master crossed his arms and observed his opponent silently analyzing 2-star level. "That means he's the one with the highest combat power in the first group that gathered enough badges yesterday." Standing opposite him, Trando just smirked mockingly, looking intrigued. "Interesting." 9th Master turned and took his stance, sighing with a sense of arrogance. "I never expected Chu Xiaogu and Wu-Tang to be such freaks. I could only struggle to squeeze into the top 10. Trando slowly placed his hand on his sword hilt and smiled mockingly at the other. "Top 10, huh? You seem quite confident in yourself." 9th Master drew his shining blade. He wore an arrogant smile as he retorted, "Yesterday I heard of your reputation for clearing out the wolf den alone. It was truly astonishing." But then his eyes narrowed dangerously. "How much of yesterday's performance can you hold on to today?" Instantly, 9th Master darted forward at lightning speed, swinging his sword down in a thunderous strike. Trando skillfully parried the 2 weapons, colliding and sending sparks flying. The audience looked up at the electronic screen. Trando first grade 90% versus 9th Master first grade 90%. The crowd's eyes widened in shock as they screamed, "What another hidden genius at the perfect level!" Trando's eyes flared with sharp killing intent as he channeled his strength. He decided, "No hypotheticals, I must end this fight quickly." Facing Trando's fierce sword stance, the swordsman Ninth Master narrowed his eyes in caution. To use it so blatantly. A thrusting-style martial art. Immediately, Ninth Master gritted his teeth and launched a full-power counterattack. Demon Blade, Muramasa, Fourth Form, Crescent, Heavenbreaker. You actually want to break through me head-on. Don't look down on me. Unfazed by the violent assault, Trando spun and powerfully unleashed his ultimate technique, Light Flow Sword Art, Second Form Ancient Resonance. The explosive power lit up the corner of the arena as his martial arts skill stat on the screen shot up to a staggering number. Trando's martial arts skill reached 99.3%. Taking the thunderous counterattack directly, Ninth Master's sword almost slipped from his grip as he stared in horror. "How can this be your power?" Seizing the moment while his opponent was stunned, Trando delivered a violent finishing blow. "Draw a line in the sand." The match ended in a flash. Ninth Master lay sprawled on the ground, looking up at the hero's back with a bitter, sarcastic smile. "Dreaming of the top 10 after clashing with me, huh, Trando?" Trando slowly sheathed his sword and walked away. In his mind, he calculated pragmatically, "That woman is too strong. I must temporarily avoid her edge." Ending the fight quickly was just to avoid her. Meanwhile, the officials in the observation deck buzzed with discussion. The martial arts skill of this student named Trando doesn't seem to have reached 99.3%. Could it be because of his high mental power? The person next to him corrected him. "You weren't here yesterday. The kid is genuinely decent, but only just barely passed. Level 9 mental power?" The white-haired scout narrowed his eyes with regret. "Only just barely passed. If only he possessed level 10 mental power and had evolved his soul into a martial soul, that would be ideal." The baseball cap-wearing partner spoke up, explaining the regulations. Life intensity level 11 before age 18, level 10 mental power, first grade martial arts. He must meet at least one of these 3 conditions. Only then can one step into the Kirin class. The reason we came to watch this tournament is specifically to unearth these kinds of geniuses among geniuses. The white-haired uncle stroked his chin and nodded. "Never mind the life intensity. Trando's mental power and martial arts are indeed lacking a bit, however, compared to Ninth Master. Trando is still considered a good seed, far exceeding just barely passing." Then he proposed a crafty idea. "Old do. How about this tonight? Let's talk to the kid and see if we can sign a letter of intent." The scene shifts to a romantic sunset outside a luxury hotel where Trando is taking a leisurely walk with his teammate. The second round of the final competition is finally over. I'm really looking forward to the finals tomorrow. Returning to his cozy bedroom, Trando sprawls out on the bed, lazily muttering to himself that by utilizing the time limit rule well today, he had managed to dodge Chu-Tu-Ko throughout all 4 rounds and leveled up smoothly. His eyes light up with a fiery desire to upgrade his strength. He feels that real combat is truly incredibly effective for boosting his vitality intensity. Last night, he was just a little short. But now I can definitely wipe out that pack of bears. His consciousness immediately sinks deep into the crystal dimension, swinging his sword to unleash sharp, brilliant strikes that tear through the shadow of a massive dark bear, a truly exhilarating feeling. Thoughts rush back as the system flashes a sweet congratulatory message. "Congratulations to the host. Vitality intensity has increased from 5.8 to 5.9. Trando clenches his fist, smiling excitedly. "Finally increased. Looks like my intuition wasn't wrong. Choosing the BB Wolf and today's 4 matches really contributed a lot." Suddenly, a massive, vibrant green mantis crawls out from the layers of ice and snow in the crystal dimension, blocking the teenager's path. Trando smirks confidently, pointing the tip of his sword toward the beast, provoking it. "I'll use you all to test!" This 0.1 increase in power. In the blink of an eye, he jolts awake on his hotel bed in the real world, looking bewildered. Huh? His phone rings loudly on the mattress, cutting off his train of thought. A message from Teacher Lang. Trando hurriedly puts on his robe, walks to the hallway, and shyly pokes his head in to open the door, asking, "Teacher, is something wrong?" Walking into the room, he is stunned to see 2 strangers sitting sternly on the sofa. Teacher Lang Van enthusiastically calls out, "Sit down, let me introduce you." "These 2 are Teacher Du and Teacher Ban," Lang Van explains with a beaming smile, helping his young student feel less awkward. They are recruiters from the admissions office of the special Keelan Martial Arts University. That earth-shattering news makes Trando's eyes widen in shock, his heart pounding. Keelan Martial Arts University, one of the top 3 martial arts universities in the world, on par with Black Dragon Martial Arts University and Heavenwind Martial Arts University. The recruiter wearing the baseball cap slowly explains the benefits. We are responsible for recruiting students who meet the requirements to enter the Keelan class, as well as those with the potential to enter this class. The Keelan class is where our school's most abundant resources are concentrated, specifically used to cultivate the most powerful flying martial artists. Hearing such luxurious conditions, Trando scratches his cheek apologetically, confessing, "But I don't seem to meet the admission requirements. But before becoming a martial artist, if someone can touch the martial arts limit, Level 1, does possessing vitality intensity of level 11 before the age of 18 have any special significance?" The corners of the recruiter's mouth curl into a mysterious smile as he coldly concludes, "It seems your teacher hasn't told you about the secret treasures yet." The recruiter teases. Curious Trando listens intently as it is explained in detail. When a person becomes a martial artist, a secret treasure automatically unlocks within their body to absorb stellar energy, causing their mental power to soar. However, the lecturer continues to reveal another shocking secret. But before becoming a martial artist, if one can reach the first-tier martial arts limit and level 11 vitality intensity before age 18, that will simultaneously unlock 2 secret treasures, he explains passionately, his eyes shining brightly. Even if both martial arts and mental power simultaneously meet the requirements, those strict criteria, your body will automatically unlock up to 3 secret treasures. A virtual screen displays a brilliant aura around the martial artist. Like a god, there are a total of 10 secret treasures in the body. They are equivalent to passive skills, providing countless ultimate attributes. Therefore, the more you unlock, the better. Hearing these macro-level brand-new concepts, Trando nods thoughtfully. "I understand now." Suddenly, the image of an unparalleled proud genius appears amidst the starry sky. As living proof of martial arts legends, the baseball cap-wearing recruiter laughs and clicks his tongue, exclaiming, "If someone possesses a dual secret treasure, at level 10 they are already worthy of being called a genius. And if they can unlock 3 secret treasures, they are absolutely 1 in a million unparalleled geniuses." At this point, the white-haired lecturer sitting next to him seriously suggests, "Although you haven't reached the special admission points yet, you have great potential. So we would like to sign a Class C letter of intent with you. This is equivalent to you becoming a reserve candidate for the prestigious Keelan class." He swipes on his wearable device to showcase a heap of luxurious resources. Remember, the 3 top-tier martial arts universities, Keelan, Black Dragon, and Heavenwind, cannot be applied to directly. They only use a contract-based admissions system through recruiters. After signing this agreement, you will be directly provided with millions of yuan worth of resources, including blood-circulating pills, sparring partners at the dojo, and spiritual training pills. The white-haired man continues to paint a promising future. After enrollment, if you meet the requirements before becoming a martial artist, the contract will automatically upgrade to Class B, and you can directly enter the Keelan class if there is an opening. However, ignoring the millions of yuan in resources, Trando only looks up and asks one practical question. "If I sign this contract, can my family move there to settle down with me?" Receiving a cold shake of the head, the 2 recruiters firmly explain, "The regulations are clear. That is not allowed. My family is required to stay in our current residence. It's an ironclad law of the Union to ensure maximum safety for everyone, unless you are a martial artist on a mission, or an ascendant-level martial artist who has the freedom to move between ecological zones." Hearing those inconvenient terms, Trando lowered his head slightly and flatly refused. "Teachers, I apologize for making you both waste a trip here. In my heart, I've already chosen the school that I want to attend." That bombshell of news left both recruiters wide-eyed, in shock, beads of sweat forming. "Don't tell me. Do you want to get into Black Dragon or Heaven Peak?" Trando calmly lifted his head, clearly announcing his goal. "No, it's Huangshan Martial Arts University, one of the top 8 most prestigious schools." The recruiter in the baseball cap nearly fell backward, his face twisted in disbelief. "What top 8? Those places are supposed to be weaker than ours. Losing a recruit to those 2 top-tier powerhouses is one thing, but how could we lose such a genius to Huangshan Martial Arts University?" Trando's gaze suddenly turned cold and iron-willed. "I just want to stay by my family's side. The threat of invading monsters is everywhere, and I must protect my loved ones." Refusing to give up, the white-haired man hurriedly tried to persuade him, his voice urgent. Trando out of 10 million candidates every year. The probability of getting into the kill-in class is only 0.00014%, not to mention in this entire supreme martial civilization. Over 50% of the top martial artists come from our 3 most elite martial arts universities. He looked up at the ceiling. Waving his arms, he explained passionately, if you truly want to protect your family, you must soar even higher. As a genius, your influence on this world will far exceed that of an ordinary person. Facing such heartfelt words, the corner of the young man's mouth curled into a warm, cryptic smile. Trando stood up calmly and politely delivered his final answer. Thank you both for recognizing my potential, but I must decline this contract. After seeing the 2 mysterious guests out, Trando looked at the empty living room and turned to his teacher. Teacher, aren't you going to say anything to persuade me? Teacher Lang Van smiled kindly, scratching his head and answering gently. Listening to others' advice might keep you well-fed and clothed, but choosing to walk your own path. What's wrong with that? Give it your all in the finals tomorrow, okay? Trando closed the door and went to sleep, leaving Lang Van standing there dazed and sighing anxiously to himself. Looks like I'll have to discuss this with the principal again. I have to find a way to convince Trando. Meanwhile, in the Chu family training room, Chu Tiu-ko, dressed in a fierce white martial arts uniform, was practicing lightning-fast staff techniques. The steel staff whistled, tearing through the air. Creating powerful gusts of wind that swirled around, she immediately spun and unleashed a brutal staff sweep that shrieked piercingly. Facing that violent strength, a tragic scream rang out, signaling that someone had just been beaten to a pulp. Chu Tiu-ko retracted the staff, her tough hand gripping the end tightly with an incredibly cold demeanor. Seeing his beloved daughter still ready to fight, Principal Chu wiped the sweat from his brow and tiredly surrendered. You've been slapping and pounding me for 3 hours straight now. Take a break, my dear daughter. One day I'll beat you, just wait, Chu Tiu-ko shouted indignantly just as she swept the staff, knocking her father to the ground. Her father handed her a can of peach juice to cool down and gently reminded her, before dreaming about that, you should focus on how to win the championship tomorrow first. Chu Tiu-ko took the drink and confidently declared, I still have more powerful trump cards I haven't revealed yet. The championship will definitely belong to our high city. This white peach flavor is delicious. The scene suddenly shifts to the auditorium of High City High School No. 1. Under a clear, vibrant blue sky with golden sunlight, Teacher Lang Van led his prize student Trando. They strode along the wide corridor of the competition area to prepare for the final match. Suddenly, Trando glanced back and muttered suspiciously, It feels like someone is staring at me. It turned out to be the 2 scouts who had been tailing him since yesterday. The gel-haired man with the goatee smiled in approval. Truly a level 9 mental capacity to be able to sense me that sharply. Absolutely exceptional. Teacher Lang waved at someone in the stands and turned to instruct him. Principal Lai has high hopes for you and came here in person to watch your match. Those people sitting over there are all principals from different schools. Standing on the ring, Trando listened intently as the announcement blared out loud and clear. Congratulations to the 10 most excellent students who won yesterday and advanced to the final round. I will now explain the rules for today. A large screen displayed the competition bracket and the system explained. The final round will be divided into 2 stages. In the first stage, the system will randomly draw pairings for direct elimination one-on-one to determine the top 5. Next, the screen switched to the mechanics of the second round, which were much fiercer. The second round would be a gauntlet-style format where the order of challenges is drawn randomly. The challenger must fight the remaining 4 opponents in a row. A win adds 2 points, a loss subtracts 1 point. The person with the highest total score at the end of the round will win the championship. The system explains in detail that in round 2, it will randomly select one of the 5 people to challenge the other 4, with the second person stepping up to challenge. It will be the person with the highest score among the remaining 4, and they will fight the remaining 3, continuing in that manner. If scores are tied, the system will draw lots. Trando calculates in his head with a sharp gaze. In other words, a person can score a maximum of 8 points and there will be no draws. As for the case of equal scores forcing the system to draw lots for the second challenger, there is only one possibility. The imposing back of Chu Tiu-ko appears in Trando's mind, sealing the issue. That is, the first challenger sweeps. Everyone defeats all 4 remaining opponents and takes home the full 8 points. The drawing board begins to scramble. Trando tells himself. Looks like I have to give it my all to preserve my stamina in preparation for the gauntlet round. Suddenly, the audience below buzzes. Look, Senior Kook is clashing with Trando. Two elite-level masters are actually clashing right in the first round. The match list is clearly displayed. Group 1 is Trando versus Kuktrong Thien. Some mockingly comment yesterday Trando was so afraid of Senior Chu that he didn't dare to fight, only knowing how to exploit legal loopholes to sneak into the top 10. With that pathetic skill, Senior Kuk will surely win. Trando ponders thoughtfully. If High City already has a strategy to win the championship, then making them exhaust their stamina right from the first round is a terrible move for me. The High City audience excitedly gossips. Senior Varro is a bit better than his opponent, not to mention Senior Chu. If Senior Kuk takes down Trando, our High City team will sweep. Select the top 3. That is indeed a perfect answer for 60 consecutive championships. In the VIP stands the scout uncle in a baseball cap, smirks. Bored, he mutters, what's there to be surprised about in this final that makes it worth watching? The white-haired scout standing next to him, holding a pitch-black bank card, contemplates. This card already has 1 million yuan in it. Later, when Trando loses the match, I will give this card to the kid as an investment, watching Trando drawing his sword coolly on the ring. The white-haired guy smugly deduces someone who knows how to cherish family will certainly not walk the path of evil, and besides the kid has talent, he's just short on money. I highly rate this kid. Standing opposite Kuktrong Thien, who is carrying the familiar giant heavy sword, Trando evaluates the opponents that Kuktrong Thien ran into yesterday were too weak. They either surrendered or were defeated by him with a single strike. The young man breaks into a sweat, frowning as he analyzes. I completely cannot discern his true level, nor do I know what kind of basic martial arts he uses. Trando's gaze becomes extremely sharp and decisive. Let's just observe before making a move. Kuktrong Thien slowly draws his sword from its sheath, smiling confidently, and says, Tran, do I knew for sure there would be a death match between you and me. No sooner had he finished speaking than Kuktrong Thien swung his sword, unleashing a crescent-shaped blade of energy so sharp it tore through the floor. Trando hurriedly raised his sword to block the lightning-fast attack. In his mind, he exclaims in shock, this move is... While Kuktrong Thien is equally amazed. Are you really using the streamer sword technique? Kuktrong Thien wears an excited, thrilled smile and continues, seeing you use the streamer sword technique yesterday really surprised me. If we both use the same sword style immediately, the two weapons clash again. Electric sparks fly, lighting up a corner of the ring. Putting force into pushing his opponent back, Kuktrong Thien roars with spirit. Then let's determine the winner entirely based on power and intensity. Trando struggles to wield his sword in defense. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he thinks to himself his sword is getting heavier. Damn it, is he really playing all out from the very first seconds? The scene of the ring is illuminated by streaks of sword energy interwoven crazily. The audience below gasps in surprise. Look quickly, Kuktrong Thien's martial arts index is actually also 99% exactly the same as Trando. Kuktrong Thien launches a barrage, not giving his opponent a chance to breathe, shouting powerfully. It's not over yet, Trando. Blinding light explodes, as Trando has to strain every muscle using both hands to raise his sword to block a 1,000-pound downward chop. Sweat pours down like rain. Trando analyzes in confusion, how can that be? His martial arts should have hit the limit already. Could it be he has also reached the realm of total mastery, but when looking closely at the opponent's next strike? Trando wakes up realizing the problem. It's not his strike. It doesn't bring that strange feeling. That is auxiliary mental energy. The electronic scoreboard above jumps constantly, displaying a martial arts index of 99.2%, while the two figures are still staring each other down amidst the dust. Thick smoke. His whole body ignites with a deep blue spiritual energy. Trando frowns, calculating his strategy. If I want to win the championship, I have to defeat 5 people. So I must end this fight quickly to preserve my stamina. Trando raises his sword to his chest with immense killing intent, making Kuktrong Thien smirk with anticipation. Finally, you've decided to take the initiative to attack. Kuktrong Thien narrows his eyes, watching his opponent, while Trando coldly declares, I will end this fight in the blink of an eye. The blonde guy smirks, challenging him back. I really want to see that blink of an eye of yours. Without hesitation, Trando dives down from the air like a shooting star, shouting loudly. Streamer sword technique. 4th form, soaring dragon strike, blocking the attack with one hand. Kuktrong Thien laughs smugly. using this move to attack head-on. What kind of damage does it have? But he didn't expect Trando to nimbly change his stance mid-air. Streamer sword technique second form Golden Dragon returns to heaven, making Kuktrongtheen break out in a cold sweat. Admiringly able to change moves in the blink of an eye, truly worthy of an expert. With attacks as rapid as a storm, Trando continues to unleash his violent ultimate technique. Streamer sword technique, third form Clear Wind under the forest. Trando's eyes were as sharp as a razor as he let out a finishing roar. Say goodbye! A colossal cyan blade of energy tore through the air, crashing straight into Kuktrongtheen. With destructive force, Kuktrongtheen took the critical hit. His clothes shredded to rags. Terrified, he shrieked, "What? How could this be?" The battle is over. The cool, composed back of Trando's sword slung over his shoulder appeared on the giant screen of the High City High School arena. The electronic board flickered repeatedly before displaying a blinding number. Martial Arts Level 100% Peak Realm! The audience below gasped, their eyes popping out. 100% Peak Martial Arts. This is the first time I've ever seen it with my own eyes. The entire arena erupted in wild cheers. I never expected Trando to be hiding his true strength all this time. The city championship title might actually be changing hands. Yeah, it really is. I never thought Trando would be such a formidable dark horse. Hearing the cheers, Trando just gave a slight mocking smirk, his gaze shifting toward the defeated opponent. His eyes narrowed, exuding a profound, unfathomable intensity, as if he were peering into the loser's soul. Kuktrongtheen knelt on the ground, gasping for air, his heart filled with pure confusion. Has he really reached the first tier limit? I didn't feel a single trace of his sublimation intent or any of his 4 techniques. Without bothering to stick around, Trando turned to walk away, offering a cold parting remark. I'm heading out, he said while the screen announced Trando of Lung City team wins. As he walked, he flashed a sly, triumphant grin to himself. Trying to fish for information from me for your teammates, huh? Keep dreaming. On the observation deck, the bearded uncle broke out in a cold sweat, visibly shocked. He analyzed it. In just one day, Trando improved by another 1%. Going from 99 to 100% is a massive hurdle. That's 10 steps of 0.1% each. How could this even happen? The scout in the baseball cap looked equally tense, squinting as he muttered, "No way." Wait, don't tell me. Could it be? The white-haired man interrupted with a dead serious expression. It's hard to say, but that possibility is very low. If it were true, it would just be too absurd. That is a type of martial art. They were cut off. The 2 scouts jumped in surprise, turning around to hear a familiar, friendly voice. Hu Trongbangfi, you 2 are here to watch the tournament. And you didn't even give me a heads up. It was Principal Chu, father of Chu Tiu Ko, approaching with a soda in his hand and a smile. If someone hadn't told me this morning, I wouldn't have even known you were in High City. I wouldn't have even known you 2 were in this city. The baseball cap uncle laughed it off while taking a sip of his drink. Congratulations, congratulations. Your daughter must have received the Type B enrollment letter from the Black Dragon Martial Arts University by now, right? Principal Chu acted humble but couldn't hide his pride. My daughter only has a tiny bit of potential to become a heaven-flying martial artist. Nothing too major. Principal Chu then glanced down at the arena, smiling with expectation. However, this kid Trando is also extremely exceptional. The upcoming matches are definitely going to be incredibly interesting to watch. The scene shifted to the waiting area. The High City students were anxiously whispering. I can't believe that after Senior Kuktrongtheen lost, Senior Varro also failed. Who could have guessed the opponent would break through right in the middle of the fight? A classmate clasped his hands in worried prayer. Now only Senior Chu Tiu Ko is left. Will our High City team really not make it? Emerging from the tunnel, Chu Tiu Ko carried her steel staff, stepping onto the ring with an overwhelming presence. She stood tall, facing her enemy, while the whole arena chanted her name like a goddess, Tiu Ko, eternal dominance. The opponent holding the shield broke into a cold sweat. Stay focused, he thought in desperation. My Lamon technique provides a nearly blind spot-free defense. I can definitely hold out until she shows an opening. Without a word, Chu Tiu Ko stomped and lunged forward at the speed of a cyclone. She whipped her staff, unleashing a brilliant pink surge of power that blasted her enemy away. She shattered the enemy's best defensive stance in a single blow. The screen flashed the results in bright letters. Chu Tiu Ko of High City team wins. As she swept her hair back, showing off her perfect profile, the unlucky opponent went flying shield and all his face contorted and tongue lolling out like something from a comedy cartoon. The stands exploded instantly. Someone screamed, "Senior Chu is too strong," finished the match in exactly 1 second. Others chimed in sarcastically. Tron-Do was impressive, sure. But look at this performance. Senior Chu is clearly on a whole different level. One student even let out a relieved sigh, thinking, all that worrying I did about Senior Chu losing was totally unnecessary. Tron-Do stood below the stage, his expression stern and calculating. Round 1 is over, and we're moving straight to the second round of elimination. I wonder who she'll pick. The digital board flickered and landed on the name Chu Tiu-Ko. The crowd went wild again. Looks like the champion is about to be crowned right here and now. I can't wait to see Senior Chu. Sweep all 4 of them. With a proud, mocking smirk, Chu Tiu-Ko loudly declared, "The first person I challenge is Tron-Do of the Leung City team." The declaration left the audience whispering in admiration at her decisiveness. Just as expected, she was incredibly strong and confident, never wavering. Tron-Do flashed an intrigued smile and slowly walked onto the stage. He drew his sword, pointed it straight at his opponent, and responded clearly, "That is exactly what I was hoping for." Chu Tiu-Ko slightly furrowed her brows, her gaze turning razor-sharp as she prepared for a no-holds-barred fight. The electronic display spiked to 100% on the martial arts power index. As she vaulted into the air and brought her weapon down, someone panicked and thought to themselves, is she really using her full martial arts power? Could she be planning to finish off Tron-Do in a single move right from the start? Tron-Do hunched over, bracing his arms and raising his sword to deflect the lightning-fast strike, marveling in his mind. Is this the concept of the limit? Transcending techniques with power that nears the supernatural, truly extraordinary. Without letting her opponent catch a breath, Chu Tiu-Ko followed up with her ultimate technique, the Saint King Staff Arts. Fourth form flooding heavens. A massive swirling tidal wave of cyan spiritual energy surged forward, ferociously threatening to swallow Tron-Do into the center of the overwhelming vortex. However, the screen immediately flickered, indicating Tron-Do's martial arts index had also hit 100% as he slashed his sword, tearing through the wave, prompting Chu Tiu-Ko to think to herself, "To be able to deflect my power? It seems he is really going all in." She gripped her steel staff tightly and smirked triumphantly. Just as expected, he's actually got some real talent after all. Tron-Do stepped back, running his hand along his sword, which began to glow with a chilling aura as he took a defensive stance. The audience started rubbing their eyes in confusion, whispering, "That's strange, isn't that?" Tron-Do wrapped in some kind of blue aura. "Wait, you see it too. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me." Below, Teacher Lang Van beamed with pride, his smile stretching ear to ear as he exclaimed, "That kid? You really did it." The scout with the baseball cap broke into a cold sweat, his eyes wide with shock. "I wasn't seeing things before. That really is level 10 spiritual power." Tron-Do's soul had evolved into a martial soul. A surging, massive energy enveloped him, as if declaring to the world that his soul had ascended to the level of a martial soul. With a single stomp, Tron-Do shot forward like a lightning bolt, splitting the space, determined to strike first and seize the initiative. Chu Tiu-Ko's eyes widened in alarm, her blue pupils trembling as she gasped. "His speed! It's much faster than before." With reflex-defying grace, she struggled to lean back and flip away, just barely dodging a vicious wind-tearing slash. Before she could regain her footing, Tron-Do swiveled and lunged, raining down rapid-fire attacks to corner his opponent. Chu Tiu-Ko gritted her teeth, bracing herself as she raised her steel staff. She parried the bone-rattling sword strikes with great difficulty, sweat beading on her forehead. She frowned, analyzing the situation. The pressure is immense. His power is definitely heavier than before. This is the effect of channeling his martial soul. Ignoring her opponent's confusion, Tron-Do continued to swing his blade madly, diving in with a brilliant glow. Unwilling to yield, Chu Tiu-Ko ground her teeth. She put every ounce of her strength into a counterswing, creating a violent gust of wind. Amidst the fiery battle, Tron-Do calmly tightened his grip on the hilt, ready to answer every strike with a sharp, cool-headed demeanor. His eyes flashed with a razor-sharp glint. A gap. Seizing the opportunity, he swung his sword hard, forcing Chu Tiu-Ko to struggle just to raise her staff in defense. Taking the massive impact, she was pushed back, cold sweat pouring down as she worried, "Damn it, my center of gravity is off. I need to correct this immediately." Tron-Do slammed his foot into the ground, using it for momentum. His eyes burned with absolute determination. Having gauged the situation, he told himself, her rhythm is broken. As long as I don't give her a chance to stabilize, I can definitely win. No sooner said than done, Trando lunged forward, unleashing a rain of cyan sword energy, slashing wildly. He forced his opponent to retreat and defend. Amidst the deafening clatter of clashing weapons, his will to win burned brighter than ever in his mind. I can win! Trando leaped high, pouring all his energy into the decisive blow, roaring internally, I can defeat Chu-Tiu-Ko on the stands! The bearded man's jaw dropped in shock. I never expected Trando to rely on level 10 spiritual power to force his martial arts index up to 100%. This kid was hiding his cards well. Meanwhile, the principal with the wire-rimmed glasses beamed. I was planning to wait until he lost to give him a few pointers, but now the plan has changed. Get ready to welcome the champion. The man with the wire-rimmed glasses was so thrilled he jumped up, cheering wildly, Go for it, Trando, beat that girl! In another corner, the white-haired scout stroked his chin, smugly declaring, Upgrade the contract level. Trando is completely worthy of a level B contract. It looks like we have to throw away our pride and shamelessly go ask that kid again. Overhearing the conversation, Chu-Diem, the doting father and principal, furrowed his brow, cold sweat dripping as he wondered, Ask him again. Did Trando turn them down yesterday? The scout in the baseball cap smirked and taunted Chu. Hey, you obsessed dad, how can you still sit there so calmly? If nothing unexpected happens, your Chu-Tiu-Ko is about to lose. However, Principal Chu offered a dangerously confident smile and retorted, You're wrong, Bang Fi. If nothing unexpected happens, then something unexpected is definitely about to happen. Below the ring, the two divine weapons collided again, exploding in a blinding light. Trando stared in horror, sensing terrifying pressure surrounding him. Her power and speed had suddenly changed completely. Earlier. At that moment, Chu-Tiu-Ko's calm voice rang out. Trando, you're quite good. She looked up, her blue eyes shining with pride. Even in the eyes of my strict father, you are absolutely worthy of being called a genius. Gripping the steel staff that was radiating a surging oceanic aura, she tilted her chin in pride. But I am a genius among geniuses. Trando retreated into a defensive stance. Sweat poured off him like rain as he realized the shocking truth her martial spirit actually possessed. A top-tier limit martial art combined with level 10-star spiritual power. Without giving Trando a chance to recover, Chu-Tiu-Ko launched a staff thrust carrying the power of the sea. Trando struggled to parry with his sword, gritting his teeth in astonishment. Too fast, it was getting even faster. Trando's sword blade was pressured by the steel staff until sparks flew upon impact. Forced to retreat, Trando had to brace himself. Standing firmly amidst the burning blue spiritual aura, Chu-Tiu-Ko pushed forward with all her might, not giving her opponent half a second to breathe. The immense recoil sent Trando flying backward. Sliding across the arena floor, the goddess of High City continued to swing her staff, summoning a giant tidal wave of spiritual energy that engulfed the entire space. The fierce wave surged forward, striking him head-on. Forcing Trando to struggle desperately to defend himself, his sword tip stabbed into the floor, carving a long trench to act as a break. Chu-Tiu-Ko closed the distance with a smirk. What's wrong? Has your strength faded? Are you out of energy? Looking at his opponent gasping for air, she coldly declared, It's over, Trando. However, the corner of Trando's mouth twitched into a cunning smile, and he calmly retorted to Chu-Tiu-Ko, Your performance really took me by surprise. But that much alone is not enough. And as for whether it's over, it is definitely not your place to decide. Chu-Tiu-Ko glanced aside, seemingly sensing something unusual approaching. Suddenly, Trando's eyes widened, shooting out brilliant blue lightning. Accompanied by a roar of battle rage echoing in her mind, a spiritual shockwave caught off guard by the surprise attack. Chu-Tiu-Ko opened her eyes wide, realizing in a panic, No wonder. His strength just now suddenly weakened. Turns out he poured all his martial spirit power into his eyes. Her silhouette began to blur, swaying and retreating in the space. Dazed, Chu-Tiu-Ko's eyes rolled back, her head tilted back as if enduring an extreme psychological shock. Standing frozen in the middle of the arena, her pupils contracted. Her face revealed extreme panic. She looked around blankly, whispering to herself in the illusion, I didn't expect Trando to possess such overwhelming spiritual power, so Is this the illusion created by a spiritual attack? Behind her, a massive, bizarre blue soul flame began to roar. Chu-Tiu-Ko looked up in terror. Trembling, she uttered, What is that hellish sound? Gazing up at the giant black shadow with a blood-red eye stretching to the heavens, Chu-Ko was completely overwhelmed by this terrifying spiritual illusion. She struggled to grip her steel staff, her small frame seeming to sink before the giant shadow obscuring the entire sky. Gritting her teeth, Chu-Ko slammed her staff into the ground. Releasing a flash of spiritual power like lightning to try and break the grip of the illusion, blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Her sapphire eyes widened, full of rage and resilience. She silently vowed not to let herself fall so easily. Despite the opponent's resistance, Trando's sword blade ignited with a brilliant deep blue spiritual flame ready for a lethal finishing blow, his hand gripping the hilt tightly. Trando's gaze was frighteningly cold and calm. He did not hold back against the futile struggle of the goddess of High City. Under the stands, the crazed fans of High City panicked intensely. A chubby guy folded his hands as if holding a crucifix and wailed, "Senior Sister Chu, stop acting, move quickly." While the person next to him argued with a straining neck, how could she lose? There will definitely be a spectacular comeback, just you wait. But life is not a dream. A giant blue blade of light tore through the space, striking down. Cruel and decisive Trando's towering figure stood looking down at the defeated opponent. He spoke faintly to finish it, "Chu-Ko, this time it really is over." The electronic board flashed instantly with the words honoring Trando's victory, making the doting father Chu-Diem widen his eyes with veins bulging on his face from extreme shock. The man gritted his teeth and sweated profusely, harboring deep resentment in his heart. "Trandu, I will remember your face." Contrasting with that bitter look, the scout wearing this baseball cap excitedly analyzed that the fact that Trando could master spiritual martial arts on his own proved the boy's spiritual power. It was 100% capable of exceeding level 15. If he just raised his life intensity, he would absolutely be a genuine, heaven-flying martial artist. In that case, Trando was fully considered a standard A-rank candidate. The white-haired man frowned, stroked his chin, and cautiously asked, "Are you intending to offer Trandu an A-rank commitment letter directly?" It's no exaggeration to say that those who can sign A-rank contracts in this world are as rare as autumn leaves. The baseball cap man nodded decisively. That's right. Trando's power already holds strategic-level potential. However, to grant A-rank and S-rank contracts, it is mandatory to contact and request approval from our principal. Without hesitating for another second, the man turned around and urged his colleague, "Let's go. Contact the principal immediately. We will do our best to fight for the conditions Trando desires." Walking out into a deserted corner of the school corridor, the man in the cap turned on his holographic watch and reported respectfully, "Principal, do you think this is feasible?" A deep, solemn voice came from the other end, full of interest. "A future martial artist, huh? Wanting to protect his family. That's interesting." The holographic image clearly showed the portrait of Bang Thien Van, principal of Kylin Martial Arts University. He stroked his beard and smiled. "I highly value you two's eye for talent. Giving that kid an A-rank certification for his A-rank potential is completely reasonable." The old man suddenly turned serious, tapping his finger as he reminded him of the ironclad rules. Moving his family to the #1 ecozone is a grave violation of the Supreme Martial Arts Civilization's regulations. The scout broke into a cold sweat, hurriedly trying to convince his boss, "Principal, as far as I know, those two top-tier universities have already signed A-rank contracts with their students for this year. While we have only just discovered a rising A-rank talent like Trando." His eyes flashed with intense determination. "If we lock Trando down early and dump resources into boosting his life force intensity then in the inter-school rookie martial arts tournament, a month after the semester starts, we still have a chance to turn the tables. We can't keep sitting at the bottom of the rankings and settling for third place every year." Hearing his subordinate's persuasive pitch, the principal closed his eyes, stroked his beard, and conceded. "Fine, let me think about it a bit more. You two just wait for my response." Cut to the bustling afternoon award ceremony. Trando stood tall and proud on the podium to receive his medal as the loudspeaker voice echoed triumphantly. The champion of this 100 Cities Hegemony tournament, calling the name Trando of the Luong City team. A student from Luong City has seized the throne for the first time in history. Trando has truly created a legend. Standing on the podium, Trando recalled the previous night slaughtering monsters in the crystal dimension, silently marveling at his luck. "If I hadn't cleared everything out last night, that two-faced three-bladed bear, my mental energy wouldn't have just hit the level 10 mark to master the war stomp technique." Just now the image of that fierce girl Chu-Ko swinging her staff flashed through his mind. He realized clearly, if they had to fight again, there's no way she'd give him time to charge up his energy, and she wouldn't be foolish enough to get that close again. If that were the case, he would undoubtedly lose, and there would be no arguing it. Gripping the brilliant gold medal tightly in his hand, the corner of his mouth curled into a defiant, arrogant smile. But in this world, what the hell is the point of what-ifs? Winners are kings, losers are bandits. I'm the one who won. Meanwhile, at the office of the principal of Luong City High School No. 1, Uncle Chu Diem frowned and called out to someone outside, "Come in." A beautiful female assistant walked in puzzled and asked, "Principal, didn't you want to see Trando after the match? Why didn't you attend the award ceremony?" "Now that everyone has already left." The uncle rubbed his temples and the bridge of his nose, sighing wearily before answering shortly, "Leave it for next time." The assistant stood straight, listening as her boss instructed, "In a few months I will return to the Martial Electrode. Notify the other 3-star deacons." The uncle's face suddenly turned extremely dangerous. With decisive, murderous eyes, he declared boldly, "The Royal Dimension Project is officially launching." Hearing his boss's dangerous command, the assistant shouted firmly, "Yes!" and immediately stepped out to execute the order. The scene quickly shifted to an upscale high-rise apartment complex under a clear blue sky. Signaling the triumphant return of the champion, a hearty family meal was laid out on a table with a cute checkered tablecloth complete with tofu soup and delicious pickled lotus root kimchi, all prepared neatly. The father, holding a can of carbonated soda, smiled brightly and proudly praised his son for winning the championship for Luong City. "Well done." The whole family sat together around the warm meal. His mother and younger sister also excitedly chimed in to congratulate him. "Congratulations to the champion, big brother, your victory has caused a huge stir in our Luong City." Trando smiled calmly, looking like the pillar of the family, and concluded, "This time I received a lot of prize money. Our family won't have to worry about money anymore." Their soda cans clinked together in joy. Carrying a simple yet warm truth, being with family is true happiness. As the sunset fell over the peaceful apartment complex, the vibrant yellow leaves swayed in the breeze, signaling another quiet day ahead. Walking along the sidewalk with her brother, the little sister suddenly looked up and asked curiously, "Why did you suddenly decide to move into the school to live?" Not waiting for him to answer, she proudly puffed out her chest and declared with a confident smile, "Of course it's to train hard and improve my strength, just like you. Big brother, I am your blood sister. I absolutely cannot let our family lose face." Trando turned to look at his sister, smiling affectionately and teasing, "Then you really have to put in the effort. Don't waste the time I spent taking you to school." Suddenly, Trando's firm footsteps stopped mid-stride on the pavement. Seeing her brother suddenly freeze, the little sister looked blank. Blinking in confusion, she called out, "Big brother," thinking he was acting like a star again. She giggled and teased, "Is it because a crowd of your crazy male and female fans blocked the road?" But the only reply to that joke was the look in Trando's eyes, which suddenly narrowed, becoming ice-cold and tense to the extreme. Before his eyes was a humanoid monster made of pitch-black stone. Its whole body emitted a magical purple aura, holding a pair of razor-sharp twin blades as it loomed in the middle of the street. Trando broke into a cold sweat, stunned as he realized the enemy's origin. Is that a silver demon? How can it appear right here on the street? Could it be that Luong City has fallen? He narrowed his eyes, calculating rapidly, instantly denying that terrible hypothesis. There was absolutely no invasion alarm, so the city couldn't have fallen. Could it be that a monster has been hiding in the city all this time? Extremely tense, he reached out and ripped the protective band off his neck to release his full combat power. The silver demon monster growled and stretched, revealing sharp spikes protruding from its back, radiating immense killing intent. Trando broke into a cold sweat before the terrifying pressure. Trando's eyes widened, counting the spikes, and panicked 8 sharp level 8 vitality spikes. Knowing his opponent was overwhelmingly stronger, he immediately pushed his little sister behind him. Screaming at the top of his lungs, "Run!" He didn't hesitate for a second. The beast swung a claw, trailing a deadly purple aura striking straight down. Trando was horrified, his eyes bulging. He barely dodged the violent attack in the middle of the deserted street, gritting his teeth and blaming himself for his carelessness. "Damn it, my sword is at home. I need a weapon." He leaped into the air, charging toward a pile of debris at a nearby construction site. Using every ounce of his strength, Trando gripped and yanked a twisted steel bar jutting out from the rubble, his whole body igniting with a familiar, brilliant cyan spiritual aura. He gripped the steel bar, breaking into a cold sweat as he muttered, "I'll have to make do with this for now." Opposite him, the silver demon tensed its bulging muscles, preparing to unleash a devastating punch. The monster's eyes flashed with a cold, deathly light like a grim reaper emerging from the shadows, ready to crush anything in its path. Trando's eyes ignited with cyan spiritual fire. He roared as he unleashed his ultimate technique, flowing light sword-style wind sweeping through the forest. He swung the steel bar like a bolt of lightning, creating a blinding explosion of spiritual energy that struck the silver demon's massive frame, but Trando's face immediately twisted in frustration. He realized the fatal flaw. Damn it, this steel bar has absolutely no flexibility. That attack couldn't even reach its full potential. Seizing that opening, the giant beast swung a pitch-black fist huge as a boulder in a brutal strike. With no other choice, Trando had to raise the bar to block the massive attack. The ground exploded. The terrifying recoil sent the teenager flying, sliding across the broken pavement. Wiping a smear of blood from his lip, Trando gritted his teeth and analyzed the situation in frustration. Its vitality is 2 whole levels higher than mine. Without a decent weapon, I have no chance of winning. He watched the silver demon lumber toward them, closing in. Sweating bullets, he looked for an escape route. If I can't beat it, I'll just have to find a way to run. Suddenly, Trando's pupils contracted in horror as he screamed, "Don't move!" His little sister hadn't run away. She was bravely holding a rock, taking a defiant stance. She shouted, "If you're so good, come and get me!" "Don't you dare touch my brother." Trando's eyes widened in terror, his heart feeling like it was about to burst from his chest at his sister's recklessness and the beast's malicious gaze. It immediately shifted its target to the little girl. Trando cried out in panic, "Oh no!" He desperately unleashed all his cyan spiritual energy, shooting forward like a bolt of lightning, roaring, "Get lost! Don't you dare touch my sister!" His eyes flashed with a sharp light as he activated his war spirit mental technique, putting pressure on the enemy. The silver demon's massive frame suddenly froze in midair. Seizing the golden opportunity, Trando gritted his teeth, veins popping on his face. To push his speed to the absolute limit, the system chimed with a notification, "Congratulations, host. Flowing light sword style has leveled up from level 199% to level 199.1%. The corner of his mouth curled into a smug smile as he swung the steel bar with great power, excitedly realizing the truth. So this is the realm of total mastery. Even a twisted steel bar can be turned into a sharp longsword. But because it had to withstand such overwhelming power, the tip of the steel bar suddenly shattered into pieces, flying everywhere. Trando was stunned, his face drained of all color, as his only weapon betrayed him at the last moment. The unfinished strike with the mangled stub hit the beast's stone-hard head with a dull thud. But it didn't do a thing. Our protagonist was dripping with cold sweat, realizing that his decisive attack had completely failed. The twisted steel bar in his hand had swung like a bolt of lightning, creating a blinding explosion of spiritual energy aimed at the silver demon's massive body. Without waiting another second, he turned and ran for his life. Carrying his sister, Trando glanced at his smartwatch, urgently commanding Xiaoxiong send an emergency distress signal immediately. Before he could finish, the silver demon leaped over his head, cutting off his escape. He was terrified. What the hell? How is it even faster than before? Facing the Reaper's scythe coming down, Trando gritted his teeth in despair. Damn it! At this rate, there's no way I have enough time to wait for the city defense forces. He gritted his teeth and made a desperate decision to fight to the death to protect his family. If this punch doesn't kill me instantly, I have to use the force of the impact to throw my sister out of harm's way. His eyes stared wide, reflecting the giant pitch-black fist growing larger by the second. A terrifying collision echoed, tearing through the space. Dust filled the sky, obscuring everything. Trando hugged his sister tightly, closing his eyes to await the end. But strangely, he opened his eyes in confusion to find himself still intact. Not a single scratch on him. Looking ahead, a man in a military uniform stood tall on the rubble, gripping a sharp spear. He spoke clearly into his radio. "Report target has been neutralized." There were no human casualties. The city defense soldier turned around and offered a kind smile. "Hey kid, are you okay? I'm Ho Kwong from the City Defense Force. Thanks to the citizens' report about the monster, I was able to arrive just in time." His little sister was still shaken, clutching her chest and panting, "Brother!" Trando let out a sigh of relief as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted and smiled politely. "Thank you so much, sir. I am Trando, a student at City High School No. 1. The scene suddenly shifts to the rooftop of a nearby skyscraper, where two figures were silently observing everything. A young man spoke up, "Principal." It turns out to be Principal Lai Mok and a young man with a ponytail. The young man gestured wildly, grumbling in a panic. "You didn't tell me Tran Do knew how to use mental martial arts, that yellow light technique he used earlier. Directly cut off my control over the silver demon. We almost had a tragedy there." Principal Lai Mok smirked, stroking his beard as he stubbornly retorted, "That just goes to show your martial arts training isn't up to par yet. As for the safety issue, I had already arranged for Teacher Lang Van and Ho Kwang to be lying in wait nearby, hadn't I?" His gaze suddenly turned deep and inscrutable. He clasped his hands behind his back and sighed, his tone heavy with implication. "I only hope that the chance encounter we carefully orchestrated tonight will help Tran Do realize something important." The scene faded into the silent, oppressive darkness blanketing the martial arts training hall of City No. 1 High School, promising a grueling road of cultivation ahead. "A new storm for our protagonist, Tran Do." He sat slumped in the corner of the room, raising a hand to check the messages on his smartwatch. A holographic screen flickered to life, showing anxious inquiries. From his younger sister. "Brother, how are your wounds?" He calmly typed back, "I'm fine. Make sure you don't tell anyone about this, especially Mom and Dad, so they don't have to worry, okay?" Along with it came a notification of a 1,000 yuan transfer, followed by her reply, "I know, brother. Uncle Ho Kwang told me to keep it a secret, too." "Thanks, big brother. Today you looked so incredibly cool." Tran Do let his head drop onto his arms, closing his eyes, halfway exhausted and lost in thought after the horrific events he had just endured. His gaze lingered on his arms, still marred by the bloody claw marks left by the monster. He clenched his fists, grinding his teeth in bitter self-reproach. "I was just too naive." The hideous image of the silver demon flashed back, haunting his mind. He shuddered, realizing the brutal truth: danger had been lurking right beside him all this time. Remembering the moment the Grim Reaper's scythe descended, he broke into a cold sweat. He calculated that if a real catastrophe struck, even if he were attending the Huangshan Martial Arts University, where would he even find the time to rush back and save his family? Tran Do hung his head low, helplessly admitting his own weakness. Clearly, the Silver Demon's martial arts skill today was extremely low, but just based on its overwhelming life force. It could have crushed him into pulp instantly. The image of piles of glittering gold appeared in his mind, and he realized a pragmatic truth. Life force is the foundation of everything. And to raise that life force, one needs to burn through a massive amount of resources, exactly like what the Kylin Martial Arts University promised to provide. He let out a soft sigh, the corners of his mouth lifting with a newfound maturity in his thoughts. Tran Do raised his head, his gaze becoming sharp and decisive. "I've been thinking way too simply before. What I really need to do isn't just cling to them and try to protect them." A flame of ambition roared fiercely in his eyes. He shouted in his mind, "I need to level up my power at breakneck speed, to the point where I can crush every enemy in the cradle before they even get a chance to open their mouths to attack." Just as he was busy rallying his spirits, the door to the training room suddenly opened. Principal Lai Mok walked in with a gentle smile, clasping his hands together. "Tran Do, I hope I'm not interrupting your training, am I?" Tran Do hurriedly stood up and greeted him respectfully. "Greetings, Principal. What brings you here at this hour?" Principal Lai kindly held out a small box and replied, "I have a small gift for you. I bought this especially to suit your current situation. Think of it as a sincere thank you from me." The boy scratched his head in confusion. "A gift? But why would you need to thank me, sir?" Principal Lai smiled and explained, "Because you gave me and Mayor Vuong a great reason to be hopeful for the city's championship tournament. In this year's city competition, the image of them victoriously raising the trophy filled his mind. He continued praising him. At first, we thought just making the top 10 would be enough to be satisfied. Who would have thought you'd not only exceed all expectations, but also set an unprecedented record by bringing home the first championship for our Luong City? It created a massive chain reaction." The principal proudly concluded, "Your victory has directly increased the school's credibility in recruiting talent while also taking my career to a new level. Tell me, shouldn't I thank you?" Hearing those sincere words, Tran Do obediently took the box with both hands and bowed respectfully. "Thank you very much, Principal." After the touching gift-giving, the young man walked over to the fridge to grab a bottle of water to quench his thirst. Taking a long gulp, Tran Do curiously asked, "By the way, Principal, How come you seem to know every nook and cranny of this martial arts training room so well? Principal Lai proudly patted his chest and replied, well, because this 001 training room was actually mine to begin with. Trando's eyes widened in surprise. Yours! The old man smiled kindly, yielding the point. That's right, but now it suits you much better. Suddenly, Principal Lai's gaze landed on his student's mud-stained t-shirt. He asked curiously, Oh, Trando, why are your clothes so dirty and messy? It looks like you've just been rolling around on the ground. Caught in the crosshairs of the question, Trando broke into a cold sweat, calculating in his mind. Even though Brother Ho Kwang told him not to blab about this right now, it's only, just me and the principal here. Telling him probably won't count as leaking information, right? The boy cleared his throat, deciding to lay his cards on the table with an extremely serious expression. Sensei, there's something that has been bothering me deeply, and I won't be able to rest until I get to the bottom of it. That's why I really wanted to ask for your advice. Trando's eyes turned cold as he got straight to the point. Sensei, I ran into a level 8 silver demon tonight. Why is a monster like that hiding inside the peaceful city we live in? As soon as he heard that, Principal Laimok's face went through every expression imaginable from total shock to pure comedy. He frantically grabbed his student and shrieked, What? A silver demon? You ran into a level 8 silver demon. Are you hurt anywhere? Then he started muttering to himself with a sinister glint in his eyes. Good kid, that's exactly what I was waiting for you to ask. Taken aback by the teacher's reaction, Trando backed away, waving his hands to calm him down. I'm fine, Sensei. I just want to know why. I've never heard anyone mention anything like this before. What on earth is the dark secret hidden behind all of this? Principal Lai Mok turned around, his face half hidden in shadow, looking cool and mysterious as he dropped his voice to a dangerous low pitch. The answer to that is a secret, yet at the same time it isn't. It's classified information reserved only for those at the rank of martial artist and above, because once ordinary people learn the brutal truth, caught up in the eerie atmosphere, Trando gulped, his eyes wide with anticipation as he pressed, Then what would happen? Principal Lai's face remained shrouded in darkness. With his eyes glowing in a chilling way, he enunciated every word like a thunderclap. The entire order of this supreme martial arts civilization would collapse completely.